2023 wasn't a good year for the Carolina Panthers, but I'm trying to make 2024 a better one for myself. Get started on your resolutions with Factor so you're ready for the new year. Factor's ready-to-eat meal delivery takes the stress out of meal planning and sets you up for success in the new year. Skip the grocery stores, prep work, and cooking fatigue. Instead, get chef-crafted, dietitian-approved meals delivered right to your door. With over 35 meals to choose from per week, including keto options, calorie smart, vegan plus veggie, and more, plus over 55 weekly add-ons, you'll have a ton of nutritious and flavorful options to kickstart your resolutions. Skip that overpriced takeout trap. Factor is cheaper and way more delicious than takeout. Get chef-crafted, restaurant-quality meals delivered right to your door, and they're ready to heat and eat in just 2 minutes, which means more time for you. Head to factormeals.com/C350 and use the promo code C350 to get 50% off. That's code C350 at factormeals.com/C350 to get 50% off.
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan.
Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.
In a world where Carolina Panthers fans have an insatiable thirst
In a
for
world
Panthers news and opinions,
where Carolina
only
Panther
one
fans
podcast roars ferociously. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast.
Love the beat drops.
Holy cow. It's the C3 Panthers Podcast, brought to you by CarolinaCatChronicles.com. It's Tony Dunn in the house. Don't call me by my name. Call me the professor. It's the only place that you're going to get cats that are crazy enough to talk about the Carolina Panthers and record it for hours and hours on end for 7 years straight. The C3 Panthers podcast hit a milestone today. We hit 100,000 downloads for the year.
Oh, wow.
Yes. Can you believe that?
Awesome.
Doing numbers, son.
And actually, that's very small in the podcasting world when it comes down to it. But it was a big deal to me because this podcast has grown by about like 30% each month for the last 8 months because we got the coolest fans hanging out in the chat room, the coolest fans calling into the cat calls line. So I got one of these coolest cats in the world. He's actually the most popular man in the world. His name is Cody Lashney. What is up, my friend?
Tony Dunn, what is up, my brother? And yes, you are correct. We by far have the best fans, man, these Panther fans. And they are in our YouTube chat right now. We love them. All the big names, 10 Tizzy, Lee Andrew, Underground West. Josh from Mass is already roasting the mustache-less Tony Dunn, but having on.
What's he saying?
Josh might need to come clean about some things himself. I'm just saying. Dakota Tumbleton, who we're going to dissect some of his thoughts from Twitter on tonight's show. Man, we got so much to talk about. Tony Dunn, Stat Bat Daddy, CK later in the show, and nothing to it but to do it, boys. Let's roll.
Greg, how you doing, my friend?
Doing well, man. First cold day of the year, really working outside, so I'm really feeling it right now. I can't stand it being cold all the time. It takes forever to warm up, but we're going to bring some heat tonight, so I know it'll help warm me up.
The temperature dropped like 30 degrees in like 4 hours in North Carolina today.
Yeah.
Is it so cold at my house right now? I can't even tell you.
Yeah, they're rubbing sticks together in there. CK is going to be joining us later in the show. We've got a fun show tonight. Tonight's show is Division Games Always Matter, and the Falcons want to prove it. The New Orleans Saints surprisingly fell to the Atlanta Falcons. I told you guys it could be a trap game in this last show, as division games always do matter, and the Panthers are going to be hosting the Atlanta Falcons. And while you think that this is a game that we want to call a get-right game, it could easily be, it will be a difficult match. The Atlanta Falcons always put it on the Carolina Panthers, or they always bring it at the very least, should I say. And that offense has been nothing less than prolific. Their defense has been terrible, but our defense has not been sensational by any means either. We're going to be talking about that game tonight. Cam Newton, and the kind of the future of this organization continuing to unravel, as well as Colin Kaepernick making a pro day, the NFL making nice. We've got all of that on the C3 Panthers podcast. Go ahead and call into the Cat Calls line. The number is 252-228-5098. Subscribe to the show. Let's see you smash that thumbs up button in YouTube, as well as the best way for the conversation to grow is one share, one friend at a time. It's just us, the homies, the girls riding in the car on the way to the game, chatting up Panthers football. Tell your friend about that experience. We're continue to build this community together. All right, let's jump right into it, Cody. The Panthers, coming off a somewhat of a heartbreaking loss in Green Bay, put up a better fight than expected, right? Is that now 2 days removed, we were a little exuberant. To be honest, we were uplifted by the performance. You said there are no moral victories. Is this, though, a defeat in the long run now that you're 2 days removed?
Yeah, I mean, I kind of... It's so funny that now, right before we play the Falcons, is when the Falcons want to turn it on and fight and look like a competent football team. What a joke. But I don't know, man. So my chief fear is, one, we're in a position where we're playing a division rival, someone that always plays us tough, and something that I think you had mentioned before the show is, this run defense, and we've been talking about it, and we've all have our own theories on why this run defense is so bad. But I just worry that now everyone knows how to beat the Carolina Panthers, and it's rough them up the middle. I mean, that the defense is not defending the run well, and I just think that the Falcons might be in a good position to exploit that. And for a Ron Rivera who is talking about analytics and post-game press conferences, I wonder how he's going to rebound and what this defense is going to look like. Because, like I said last Sunday, Troy Aikman put it out there for everyone to hear, that this is a team that you can run the football on, and that's worrisome. And he said it over and over, and it was plain for everyone to hear. So I still think that we're a better football team. I still think that we have everything that it takes to beat Atlanta. But I don't know, man. It's just they're going to play us tough.
Oh, yeah.
Greg, 2 days removed, where do you stand after the Panthers' defeat in Green Bay on the road?
Man, my heart still hurts a little bit, but I've been carrying that conversation online. I'm sure some people have seen some of the stuff I've been saying. I've actually had some comments from a lot of people. It's just it's a tough one because I feel like we got cheated in some aspects, but I don't think we got cheated to the point that made us lose the game. There were just a couple bad calls that kind of made me go that way. I'm not worried about our future, especially like playing Atlanta this week. But Atlanta can be a spoiler. They can have a killer offense. Luckily, their weakest point, or our weakest point, our run defense, is probably the weakest point of their game, is their run game this year, because Devontae Freeman is just a joke. So,
is it him or is it that offensive line there?
Well, I mean, the offensive line holds up okay for Matt Ryan to throw for 400 yards a game.
True.
I think Devontae Freeman, just coming back from the injury he suffered a couple years ago, he's just never been the same. He was a top back a few years ago.
San Francisco with the better bargain, Tevin Coleman, but they paid for it. They certainly paid for it. Freeman, they paid for it a couple of years ago. My position, though, just in a little blurb, is I'm still all right. The one thing I am heartened by the performance in Green Bay is I think that they played better than we expected them to in many ways, right? And to make it, to be in there. And the fact that you have the ability to be upset about the game afterwards at least shows you were relevant in that game. Yeah. I'm heartened by Kyle Allen's performance and the fact that he has showed some resilience throughout these games is that, he's had some moments that he has not been great, but he's had some moments too where he stepped up in a big way, or at least he's done enough to keep the Panthers relevant. Again, he looked a little out of sorts and throughout that game last week, at least in the end, where he's chunking it at people's feet. He's throwing them over the head. He's throwing out of bounds. He looked off, but he was under duress. So I'm heartened, though, by some of the things that I see from the offense continued to be a fantastic, nobody questions Christian McCaffrey. You see DJ Moore continuing to grow as a wide receiver. But there are some serious concerns, and strangely, they have shifted to the defensive side of the ball and the inability to stop this run. And I cannot understand how the Panthers are so bad against the run. Cody, we continue to come back to coaching. Let's talk about this defense. I know, let's not go straight for the jugular with the coaches. You carry the conversation for the next minute. I've got a Ron Rivera clip I need to cut, and I'm going to play it for you guys.
Well, as you know, and we've gone back and forth about this a lot in the recent weeks, and I'm everybody knows the hill that I'm entrenched on. I'm just not. I was talking about this on Twitter a little bit. I mean, someone mentioned, and this sentiment has been echoed, that maybe our 3-4 defense is the cause of our run defense concerns. That's why we're not able to run the football. One of the guys who replied to me said, normally in a 3-4 front, you have bigger linebackers manning the middle, which I don't think Luke Kuechly or Shaq Thompson are too small to play inside linebacker in a 3-4. But I look at even last year, and they were able to run the football on us last year as well. And it's a flawed argument when you say, if you run at 3-4, then you're not going to be able to defend against the run well. But frankly, that just isn't true. Some of the best defenses that there have ever been have been 3-4s. And they never had this kind of issue with teams just running all over them. So that kind of goes back to my criticisms that this is a coaching thing. This is coaches that are not diligent in having these players be diligent towards the run. I don't know if it's schematics. They're just not used to coaching this type of defensive front. But it's very clear that right now they're in over their heads because every football team is doing it week in and week out.
Cody, let me ask you, man. What do you think our main reason for changing to 3-4 was? I mean, obviously it's supposed to shore up your passing game or passing defense a little bit better, which it has. We've had a little bit better passing defense, I think, this year than normally. But I think that has a lot to do with the players. That we got more talent back there. But I mean, do you think it was justified to make the switch because we were declining in the run defense last year when we were doing the 4-3?
Well, I do think it was justified, if anything, because coming out of college, these outside linebacker and edge rushers, they're just more prominent. There's more of them. Players are kind of more built that way now. Even though you have the occasional Myles Garrett or a Chase Young that'll come out this year, it's easier to fill out a 3-4 defense nowadays more than it is a 4-3. However, when employed effectively, I mean, you look at San Francisco right now. That is a true 4-3 defensive front. Well, and they have four guys, and they don't have to blitz, and they can just get after you. Whereas Ron Rivera, I feel like going into this season, wanted to be in a position to rush multiple kinds of players. That speedy outside linebacker, send safeties on the blitz, use more hats on hats to get pressure on the quarterback. And I think that it was working earlier for us, but now we're just kind of in over our head once the better teams figure out that we're not necessarily comfortable in 3-4 all the time.
All right, guys, I think I've got the clip here ready. It's a little echoey, but Ron Rivera was asked about this run defense. Guys, you tell me if you can hear it or just interrupt if you can't hear it.
Well, basically what happened was we got gashed on a couple of plays. And again, those are things that you just can't have. It's unfortunate that it's happened. It's happened 3 weeks in a row where we've given up a couple of big runs per game. And that really puts a lot of things out of perspective, unfortunately. Also, the unfortunate part is they do lead to big plays. Lead to scores. And that's really the thing that we've got to shore up. The other part, too, though, is when you have opportunities to get off the field, third downs are just as important, Second and longs are just as important as that. We've got to be able to go ahead and, get those things shored up.
All right, I kind of beaten Ron Rivera to the soundbite there. Yeah, I know. I know it's got down a long hallway sound to it. That's what happens when you jack the audio off the internet and you don't know what you're doing. That's what the professor's over there doing. But Ron Rivera asked about that rush defense, and later on, I was trying to get all this cut up before the show started, just did not have the opportunity to get it all, pull it all together. He said this: "We're a gap integrity defense." He continued to say this: that's what we are. We're a gap integrity defense, and when you don't do that, things are terrible. I was thinking about that terminology. We're a gap integrity defense. What defense? You know what isn't gap integrity? Is offense. Like, what does that even mean? When you say we're a gap integrity defense, like, duh, mug, that's what defense means, yeah? Yeah? Like, is that, like, you can't even say that's a philosophy. It's like, this is my philosophy. We're a defense.
Yeah.
Well, and from what it sounds like, it's saying that instead of our player, like, almost as if our defense is too ready to get after it, that instead of, minding the gap and defending against the run.
That's a great interpretation.
They're looking to get after the quarterback and get sacks. The Sack Street Boys moniker is, on the minds of players and fans. I mean, and that's how you win football games, is affecting the passer. But again, we go back to that 49ers game. Kyle Shanahan knew that that's what we wanted to do, that we wanted to put Jimmy Garoppolo in the dirt and make him throw the football. But he didn't let us execute our game plan. And then after halftime, when adjustments either aren't or can't be made, it leaves us, out in the wind, and they're going to do whatever they want to us. And, I mean, I'm really hoping that they have what it takes to fix it, because going forward, I think that's a problem that's going to get even worse.
Let me tell you this: there are two comments coming down the pipe. The YouTube chat room bringing it strong. Shake and Bake and Michael Jones. I'm devoting the next part of the show to your comments in the chat room right here. But before we do that, CK and I are going to be going to this game this weekend against the Atlanta Falcons. Now, I got to tell you, I've got the worst luck about going to the Falcons games throughout my career. I hate the Falcons more than anybody. Mike Vick terrorized me at East Carolina University, then terrorized me as a Panthers fan early on. But I tell you this, is I'm not going to miss a Panthers and Falcons matchup if I have the opportunity, because it's always a good game, even if it's a sad outcome when I'm there. And if you want to get there to this game, you need to go to vividseats.com. Download the Vivid Seats app. You can get the ticket you want for the price you like. You can go to the football game this weekend with CK and myself. You can go check out a Charlotte Hornets game. You can go and see a Hurricanes matchup. Aho finally breaking the losing streak for the Carolina Hurricanes. Had a good season to start out, and you can be a part of that action by going to vividseats.com. You get a $100 discount if you use the overtime promo code on your first purchase, or at least up to $100. That's the promo code overtime. Use the Vivid Seats app. They have a rewards program. Join us to see the Panthers smoke the Falcons hopefully this week. All right, guys, I want to turn the conversation over to the YouTube chat room. There are two fantastic comments that I cannot ignore in the chat room here, and it's going back because the YouTube chat is so smoking. Shake and Bake says this, as he said earlier on, where is it? He said, Marty Herney in panic mode. You cut Dortch and bring back Corn Elder and sign Mike Davis, a running back, when you already have 4 on the roster. This is Ron Rivera and Marty Herney's last Thanksgiving in Carolina. Cody, this comment is for you, bro.
That is a damn good comment.
The panic mode. How do you think this is? We have struggled in this return game throughout the history of the Carolina Panthers. I feel like when it isn't Ted Ginn or Steve Smith back there, I have not felt good. I can't remember a time I felt good about the Panthers return game. You guys brought it up last week. Dortch, or whatever that little guy, the little tiny man, was pretty electric at times. But this week, I don't know who was doing it this past week, but they muffed one. What is going on here in bringing Cornelder in? Mike Davis, what is happening in these roster moves right here? Is this panic mode?
So, Tony, I mean, listen, I think this is as good a segue as any into what we were kind of talking about in the lead up to the show tonight. And it's that, okay, so yes, this does seem like a panic move. Everything from Ron Rivera, I mean, you even said yourself, Ron Rivera kind of, I'll wait till you kill the sound.
They just got hung up on. Oh, they calling back. I bet you it's people on the cat calls line.
It is. It's people in the, and shout out to Josh, because he said that there was an issue with the cat calls.
Yep. All right. There it is. If I can figure out how to stop calling. Well, call now. All right. I've turned on the distraction mode.
Okay. Where was that? So it leads back.
What a buzzkill that was!
Yeah, I was on a good little roll too.
Oh
man.
My goodness, Tony!
Thanks, cat callers.
Every week, it's me.
But my point is this. I mean, you even said that Ron Rivera sounded kind of beaten in that press conference, and you're right. Why are we picking up another running back when we have two other good running backs on our roster? And they don't play any snaps. So it's like, what are we talking about here? And that's why I said this is a perfect segue. And, obviously I waited, even though I did kind of mention it a little bit, I waited until tonight to talk about Cam Newton. And the reason I wanted to bring this up, and I want everyone's opinion on this, David Tepper is such a wild card.
Hold on. Before you get into it, please tell listeners who may not have heard the post game or be tuning in since last week the current status. Cam Newton, just what has in the past week we have learned, because there has been even more information that's leaked out this past Sunday potentially.
Yeah, so Cam Newton has been officially put on season-ending IR. And now reports are coming back that he is seeking Liz Frank surgery. So that way he would be healthy and ready to go by March of before next season, 2020. And obviously we're all, if you listen to ESPN or Fox News or any of the major sports pundits out there, everyone's saying, trade Cam Newton, get a bargain of picks or cut him and save $19 million in order to sign future players or future draft picks or what have you, and build up a football team around a different quarterback other than Cam Newton. And it got me thinking about David Tepper, and I wanted to bring up our man and listener who's in the chat room right now, Dakota Tumbleton, because he asked me this on Twitter. He said, how are we feeling about David Tepper? Last year, he was all about being in the spotlight. Then we lost to the Steelers, and he disappeared. He was allowed on the podcast. We talked about Thomas Davis coming back after 3 ACL injuries in a row, and he was allowed to do this because Jerry Richardson was an owner that was all about the player. And as of right now, we don't know what David Tepper is. We don't know if he believes that Cam Newton is the future of the Carolina Panthers. The Pro Football Focus guys are not very high on Cam Newton if you're looking at it from a pure analytical standpoint. So if David Tepper is of that mindset, then he might not want Cam Newton to be in Carolina for another year. So we have all these questions about Cam and about the future of the position, and it all lies on the man that we have no idea what David Tepper's opinion on the matter is.
Yeah. CK in the house. Welcome, my friend, to the podcast.
How's it going?
We're doing well. I hope that the baby is tucked in tight by this point. We'll find out if you go dark. We understand. I got 3 of them. Where do you think this is that now we are a week out? We have heard last week, CK, that Cam Newton has gone to injured reserve. Obviously, we expected that as a real possibility. You continued to hear the news before he went to injured reserve that that advice implied that he should try to rehab this. But I feel like that news lent to a model where he was trying to get back this year potentially. As he goes to IR now, continued news breaks that surgery might be an option for Cam Newton. I told you guys, surgery happens for these injuries. Sounds like he could be contemplating it, but I don't trust any of these reports because they are remarkably vague. But CK, where are you now? Like Cody said, David Tepper is a wild card here. Now the new news. Where are you at in response to Cody's, your other Cody's comment?
So you almost feel as though if Cam Newton or if Ron Rivera isn't there next year, Cam Newton isn't going to be there. Ron Rivera and Cam Newton go hand in hand. My issue is
Is that true? Is that true?
I think they're a package deal, yeah.
I think they're a package. I mean, I do. I think Ron Rivera wants Cam. I don't think Ron Rivera wants anybody else other than Cam. Cam has been the only reason that Ron Rivera has kept a head coaching job this long. I don't think Ron Rivera wants Cam to go anywhere. But
I agree.
Moving forward, my thoughts are off-season comes around. We start talking about trade value. Who's the first person you guys think of for a trade?
Chicago or Denver.
Yeah, and guess what we have with Chicago? They have no first-round pick for 2020. They have no cap space for Cam. So it would have to be a Khalil for Cam. They're not doing that.
No.
Right.
Period.
Well, good. Look at this. Bringing the hot sauce right now.
No, that's a fantastic point.
Yes, it's wonderful.
The Broncos. Do you think Elway is going to want Cam Newton with his flamboyant attire in the post-game presser, things like that? They have plenty of cap room for him. John Elway is not going to be going after Cam Newton.
Are you trying to say that John Elway has to have the biggest personality in the room?
I feel like that's the case, yeah.
I don't know. Have you ever seen Von Miller? Von Miller's pretty flamboyant.
But when you talk about quarterbacks...
Is there enough room for our egos?
No, but remember that we're talking about John Elway, who was the God King quarterback for the Broncos, right? And they all revere him, but really he hasn't been very good at scouting. Okay, you paid Peyton Manning all the money in the world. Yeah, that's a no-brainer for a little while. But, I mean, if you look at the quarterbacks he's drafted, this is the guy that passed up on Russell Wilson because he was too short and later drafted a 6'7" Brock Osweiler. So, yeah, I don't doubt that. I mean, even if he thought that Cam Newton was a good football player, which I don't think he does, but I don't necessarily know that Elway would even give Cam a chance. I think CK has a tremendous point.
And I was reading a Bleacher Report article, and they were ranking the landing spots. You guys know where they had the highest ranked landing spot for him?
Where's that?
Carolina.
I'll bet.
Tampa Bay.
Yeah, I told you. Gosh.
Tampa Bay. And they said that it's the highest possibility because they have plenty of cap room. They have all of their future picks. So they have plenty of things to be able to bargain with.
Wait. Who in the world has ever heard of a divisional trade like that?
That's what I'm saying.
That doesn't make sense.
This is the part where I start to lose credence with this, and I'm going to ice up some people later, so just bear with me with these articles. But the issue with that is They say why it's possible and then why it's not going to be even close to being possible. And it says that there's no way the Carolina Panthers are going to trade Cam Newton to an interdivisional rival.
It wouldn't be smart.
It's just the reality of the situation. The ones that are outside of that, they've talked about were Indianapolis, Tennessee.
I've heard Cincinnati too.
Chargers was one of the bigger ones.
I heard the Chargers too.
Cincinnati and the Chargers were the moderate. Those are the ones that seemed more likely to me. But I just don't. If you're asking me, I just don't know if I haven't heard anything from the organization. I've just heard Ian Rappaport from sources around the league who has nothing to do with the Carolina Panthers. A lot of times they say, I've asked executives within other organizations what they think, and they think Cam Newton's done. Well, problem is they're not in the Panthers organization, right? They're outside looking in, and they're trying to make assumptions. But
this is the point that I think Cody is bringing up here. Is right. There's 4 options, and Dakota, Cody and Dakota have been decoding this on Twitter all day. There's 4 potential options for Cam Newton. He can play next year under his contract, right? He can be traded. He can be cut, or he can be extended. I don't think there are any other options than that. Is that he's either going to play under his contract, or you could say this: if there is a 5th option, is he's supposed to play under his contract and he holds out. That's the 5th option. I don't even think that's a true possibility coming off of 3 years of an injury. I think Cam Newton really has to show his value to free agency if he's marketing himself for there. So I think that things tend to lend towards him being a Carolina Panther, but this comes back to Cody. The point is really there's only one factor here that truly matters, because we understand that Cam Newton is a value there at $20 million. That's a value for Cam Newton. Even if he gets the surgery, I do think there's some question marks if the timeline is a little optimistic for him being ready in March. I've always heard that these surgeries take a little bit longer. I've always heard a year. It takes a year for that, right? And I understand that. I'm not saying they give you the best timetable, but the real answer to this question is not what comes back to David Tepper, Cody.
It all does. And I kind of want to hit on that point again. We have no idea what David Tepper thinks. I mean, and Dakota alluded to this in his tweet questions. But, Ron Rivera even specifically mentioned that 2-point conversion, that was an analytics thing. Because data says that you should go for 2 points in that scenario. And, if you piece together that David Tepper, he's already mentioned in interviews before that he does value analytics, especially when it comes to football. That's a nudge, nudge, wink, wink from Ron Rivera at the owner saying, hey, I'm doing the things that you like and the football team that you just bought. So it really is everyone from Marty Herney signing these erratic picks to Ron Rivera making these decisions. I mean, it's very easy to believe. And Tin Tizzy in the chat is pretty much saying we should just rip off this Band-Aid now and accept that David Tepper probably is going to move on from Cam Newton.
I think that's too. I think that we don't have any evidence that says that.
100% we don't. And then I'll shut up because I know I'm long-winded. The last thing I'll say about this is if you look at Ian Rappaport and all these Twitter accounts that are coming out saying, they're hearing sources that Cam Newton is likely done in Carolina. Like, those more respected reporters, they're not just putting their opinion out there.
Right.
They're not going to,
yes, they are. They're all sensationalists by this now. The only one that's not a sensationalist is the one that works for NFL Network. Which one is that?
Ian Rappaport. Ian Rappaport
I say Rappaport's got some pretty good stuff, man.
He's the only one. The Schefter is even a little clickbaity.
We ice him up because he put out something.
Yes. I'm telling you, is that I don't trust. Like, they kind of just take these like nomenclature or whatever these little phrases are, start to surface is that I saw an article on one website today. It just said likely Cam's last game in Carolina, and they just quoted the most small passage from a Schefter report. But even his report was a little over, he's leaning on opinion a little bit rather than reporting. And then they opinionated an opinionated report, and it was crazy. I think this is that if Cam Newton has the surgery, guys, and he's healthy, how the hell do you not keep? I don't think David Tepper is going to look at the analytics and say, nope. I think he's going to look at the analytics and say, look at that big old wonderful man right there. Put him in a quarterback.
And listen, that opinion is as valid as you can have. Then you can also look at it the other way. I mean, that's the point.
Wouldn't you have that opinion? Wouldn't you have that opinion? Look at Cam Newton, the beautiful mind.
Listen, of course I do. But listen, I'm just going to keep it 100. I mean, y'all don't need to know my opinion on Cam Newton. He is the reason I even give a damn about football right now. I love Cam. I want us to build around Cam for the future. But, I mean, if we're talking about a guy that made his billions in the cutthroat world of stocks and bonds, and, I mean, he has a big set of brass balls on his table for a reason. This man has an ego. This man wants to build his own legacy in Carolina. And I think that all that matters, and you have to take that into consideration when considering what's going on in the Panthers front office in the next few years. I mean, he might want to clean house 100%. And I agree with CK. More than likely, if one of them goes, everyone's going. So I don't know.
I do think that I'll have a hot take on that. I think that Cam Newton's more likely to be here next year than Ron Rivera is.
I agree with that. That's not even a hot take. That's just a truth take.
Well, I simply say that because from an analytics standpoint, let's be honest, we know that the great quarterbacks aren't really considered that great until after 8 or 9 years in the league anyway. Like, right. They're good. They're considered – they might get to an elite status. But when you look at statistics, analytics, they tell you your quarterback gets better from this point on because they're starting to understand the game a lot better. They're starting to read defenses a lot better. And analytics will tell you the odds of you striking on a franchise quarterback out of the draft is very slim. So why would you let him go when you want to at least give him an opportunity with a coach that's going to put him in a position to succeed? So I feel like David Tepper would be more likely to at least keep him on the field for one more year under this contract if Cam will have it. I agree. And 100%. And see what we have before we start going with the low odds of getting somebody who's actually going to be able to be a franchise quarterback. Because I don't think that I'm not seeing anybody in this draft that's going to come out and do what Cam does for us.
No, and you pointed to it is that it's a long game going the other way. Yeah. Is that it's a real long game.
Still wants to play here.
Yeah. Well, and there's these reports talking about Cam would be all right going to the Bears. I'm like, Cam never said those words ever.
Yeah, now that they're just making that shit up.
The media is stretching all of these narratives as much as they can. Look, I want you guys to think about that too. I want you to think about this comment. I'm going to read a little bit before we respond to it. Michael Jones, though, alluded. We've seen the struggles with the defense, right? And some of the problems that this defense, with this gap awareness defense, not being aware of gaps. And these running backs gashing us for these big runs, like Ron Rivera said. Michael Jones says, do you think that Luke Kuechly's masking an injury here? What is going on with Luke Kuechly? I want you guys to think about that. But while you think about that, I want to remind you this. We're over halfway through the football season, and there is still plenty of time to get in on the action at mybookie.ag. Mybookie.ag is the most trusted bookie site in America, the most trusted sports book in America, and you can get into the action on NFL, NBA, NHL. You can bet on the Charlotte Hornets, the Carolina Panthers, and the Hurricanes, and parlay it any which way you want. The prop bets are fun. It's always fun to do the over in the first period goal for the NHL. Will someone score in the first 10 minutes is an option. And, hey, you can even bet if Aho will break the streak like he did last night, you would hit big. MyBookie.ag, they will match your deposit 50%. They'll match it. So you put in $100, they'll give you $50 if you use the promo code overtime. That is the promo code overtime. MyBookie.ag. You play, you win, you get paid. What the heck is going on with Luke Kuechly, guys? The best linebacker in the NFL has been, we saw it somewhat last year a little bit, is that we've started to say, hey, Luke Kuechly is not making his presence known as much as he used to be. We've defended it. We've tried. Well, nobody's critiqued it. Where is Luke Kuechly? Is Michael Jones onto something here? Could he why is he absent? Is it him declining or is it an injury? I'll just turn the mic over to you guys.
I'll let y'all jump in on this one first.
Nobody wants to talk about.
All right, well then, okay, all right, so then I'll jump in first. Fine. Have it your way.
Take that.
Listen.
Where's Greg at? Greg is all quiet over there. He hasn't talked like an hour.
He might be frozen. I don't know.
Mm.
So, listen, this is my thoughts on Luke. Whenever our entire team is playing bad, it seems like that's when we notice Luke Kuechly playing bad the most. I've seen a lot of people on Twitter talking about how, this is Luke not wanting to get another concussion. And I don't know how much truth there is to that, because then why would he even be playing if he was afraid to get a concussion? I mean, I don't know what the numbers are right now, but Luke Kuechly was leading the NFL in tackles a few weeks ago. I don't know if it remains that way, but I don't know. I kind of think that we're noticing Luke Kuechly more when the team is bad. That's not saying that he hasn't missed more than in previous years. I mean, he is in his 8th year of his NFL career. I don't know. That's why that term window is so important. When you have talented players, you want to put other talented players around them when they're in their prime. And Luke has taken a beating these past few years, everything from the concussions to just him working and being on every play. Maybe it's finally started to take its toll.
Tin Tizzy says this. Tony's late on the comments. Tony, he said, I brought up the possibility that the concussions are showing. What do you think about that? I feel that that's a bold statement, Tin Tizzy. And by the way, guys, Dakota has brought it to my attention that when we but when we use the chat window in this, it's also displaying on YouTube. So tell the next time you type in the messenger, just tell the YouTubers that they're awesome.
Okay, so don't say all the no words we like to say.
I don't know. When are we gonna talk about this Twitter video about the girl poofing the blue smoke outside?
Let me do my take on the Kuechly, and then we'll go that route.
All right, here you get it. Cody, take the show for a second. You guys carry it. I gotta be right back.
Yes, all right, okay. So, go ahead and lay your opinion on us.
So my take on Luke is not that he's playing less effectively. It's that I think that everything that is the offensive game plan is about being deceptive to what Luke thinks is going to be coming. We saw what the 49ers did. They said they used a lot of silent motions. They used a lot of, hand signals that Luke had no ability to see. And I think you saw a few of those times with Aaron Rodgers too. I think they understand, they know what Luke is going to be watching on film, and they're watching that film and they're counteracting him before he can do anything. I think that has a lot to do with it. But I do think that the way that they're playing the game at this point is Luke has a 50-50 shot of making a tackle. And I just don't think that's gone his way. When it's on the big stage, like, we saw one of those big runs last on Sunday where it looked like he was being blocked in the back, but whatever. He had a clear line to the running back, but he went to the left thinking that's the avenue they were going when they actually went right. Yeah. I think it's just a matter of they're using Luke's analytics and his style of calling the play before the play actually happens and using that against him. But that's just me.
Greg, what I am interested in your opinion, Greg, because I feel like whenever we talk about Luke and his performance, you're the one that kind of brings up that, Luke Kuechly, he does miss a few more tackles than he normally does, and he isn't necessarily as quick to the ball. So what do you think about Luke Kuechly, and is he performing at a worse level than before? Greg, you have no volume, by the way, brother.
That's where it is.
Yeah, we're wondering, hey, where the hell is Greg? Greg's talking the whole time.
His volume's jacked up, but Tony's back. Yeah. Trill, don't worry. Look, Trill once said, bring me a beer too, Tony. And Trill, you can come over to my house anytime. I got all the beer you need. He's got a kegerator. You are welcome, brother. We watched the Panthers game together. All right. So, guys, Luke Kuechly, his skills, there is no way. It's sacrilegious to say his skills are diminishing, but there is a less of a stamp being placed on these games by him. And I did see a fantastic discussion on Twitter earlier this week, maybe just yesterday. I cannot forget who brought it up. They need their name mentioned in this, but he said offenses are game planning for Luke Kuechly and specifically trying to get a second level blocker on him. Like that, the whole idea is that they know that defense weak up the middle, so they send a guard after Kuechly early.
Yeah, well, I feel like they always get a hold on Kuechly too. Like he always, I've never seen a player get held as much as I've seen him get, held, because he gets past the line of scrimmage so often, and he's getting ready to make the right read, and so you see his arm all the way over here being pulled by somebody, and he can't do anything. It just
can you hear me now?
We heard you.
Yes, okay.
Hey, I'm not gonna lie, man. I was sitting here, I was like, man, these guys are just ignoring me. I'm trying to get.
No, we haven't been able to hear.
I was like, man, they're just ignoring me.
We had no idea where your volume was.
We thought you were just.
God, I was we were like, let's give the question over to someone else, and then everybody waited, and we're waiting. Like, damn, even CK's like, I don't want to answer it.
Well, that was funny because right then I CK said he had something to say about it. And I was like, well, let CK take it, and then I'll piggyback off him. But nobody responded, and I was like, well, okay.
The C3 Panthers podcast. Come for the Panthers football talk. Stay for the audio issue.
Let me give you my thoughts on Luke, and then I do have one thing I want to talk about Cam before we move too far away from that. But with Luke, I think there's a couple of things that play into it. One is age. I mean, he is getting older, so naturally he's going to decline slightly in play. But two, he's playing in a new defense this year with a 3-4, so that's a big change. And he lost Thomas Davis. I think that's a big deal for him because Shaq Thompson is good, but I don't think Shaq Thompson is a Thomas Davis, and I don't think Luke looks at Shaq Thompson as a Thomas Davis. I think Luke looks at Thomas Davis as somebody that he doesn't have to worry about. If you're on that side of the field, I don't have to worry about it. But with Shaq Thompson, he feels like it's almost like a big brother. He's got to watch out for him. He's got to direct him, and he's got to make sure he knows exactly where he's going and then tell him where to go. And I think those have some factors in what's going on. He's taking on more of controlling the defense this year without TD there.
Is there any credence though? Is there any credence though that Luke Kuechly may be struggling in the 3-4? I've heard this and I think there's a legitimate look. Luke Kuechly has never played in it till this year. He said that he said that it's new. Is there a potential that the system maybe not only the learning adjustment for it, right? Is that just getting used to a completely or a significantly different system? Well, also the factors you said with his physical ability, but then the idea that he's just himself not exceptionally familiar with it. Could he, and maybe not even suited for his skill set exceptionally. Is that anything?
I'll put this is my own personal opinion on Luke in the 3-4. Listen, I have no doubt that Luke has slowed down some. I don't expect him to keep up the same level. But I really don't buy the argument that it's because we're in a 3-4 now. And I think that we kind of answered our question before we even asked the question. When Ron Rivera is talking about gap soundness and minding your gaps, whenever Luke Kuechly whenever they're asking him why he's so good or why he's able to do what he does, the first thing Luke Kuechly says is, my defensive tackles in front of me make my life easier. So what that means is if our defensive tackles, if they're not minding their gaps, then the gaps that Luke Kuechly is responsible for, well, he might be minding that gap, but if the left defensive tackle doesn't mind his, then there's a cutback lane for the running back to go through, and Luke isn't in position to make that kind of play. Yeah. So I think as a result of our defense playing bad football on all fundamental levels, that kind of leads to Luke not being able to be as effective.
Yeah, it's a very, very sound theory. I mean, yeah, like I said, I think that, and I really do think Thomas Davis not being there is a big deal for him because, like I said, he's covering so much more of the field now. He's having to worry about so many other people, and I think Thomas Davis is more instinctive than Shaq Thompson is.
All right, let's move to your comment about Cam Newton. And while you're about to make that, there's 55 people watching, and 26 of them about to get shamed, or 29 of them about to get shamed. Come on, smash the thumbs up button. It's the C3 Panthers podcast. We're here every Tuesday night chopping up the latest Panthers news and opinion. Help grow Panther Nation, which many people believe is a small market. But I tell you this, is we might be a small market, but we are a community you want to be a part of because we got some of the best fans there are on the internet. And you can be a part of the show at 252-228-5098. Greg, you had a point about Cam that needs to be made. Let's hear it.
I do. And this is not my theory. It's just, so I just want to know bounce it off you guys and see what you think. I know we were talking about David Tepper and Ron Rivera and like the Panther culture possibly moving on from Cam and how they feel about it. How do you think Cam feels about it? Like, do you think
what a
Cam
great question
might be thinking in his head that maybe it's time for me to go? Because I'm going to bring up this one IG post he had. And if you listen to the first line of the IG post, it's exactly what you would say to a girlfriend that you're going to break up with. And the first line in it is, you guys will always be, or Charlotte, you guys will always be in my heart. Now, I'm thinking that if you're addressing a city about something that you want to do.
Yeah, man. That's a kind of I love you, but. You know what I'm saying?
Right. And like I said, I don't think that he is at a point where he wants to leave, but that narrative is out there, and I kind of wanted to bounce it off you guys, see if maybe – do you guys think that maybe in his mind he feels scorned, or he feels like
that's a legitimate question as you look around and you're Cam Newton, who is one of the most beloved people, but also one of the most polarizing characters in sports. But at the same time, meant so much to Charlotte. There has always been a strong contingent, and they get more vocal when he is hurt or when he's not playing well. And that people call him Twitter? What is it they call him, Cody? The Twitter 150, F-150 or something?
Yeah, Ford F-150 Twitter.
Yeah, but so does the noise at some point get to a player? And I mean, it's hard to get it out, but is there something to that emotional component? And before you answer that, I was thinking about this question a little bit today, Greg, and I thought, I wonder if linemen are just really down on themselves as we continue to be like, fucking offensive line is a piece of shit. It's like, are they like listening to the noise also and crying themselves to sleep? Guys, how does Cam feel at this point in the process? Is that part of it, or do you think is it not part of it? Do you think that he actually has filtered that out some and wants to be Carolina is his own?
I kind of think there are two different theories on it. And, I actually give credit when credit's due. My mom brought this up. We were talking about Cam Newton, and she says, you know what? Maybe Cam Newton doesn't want to play in Carolina anymore. Maybe Cam Newton wants to find some greener pastures. Now, again, we're just floating this out there. No one knows, but we're talking about all the possibilities. And what if Cam Newton feels the same way that we do? What if you feel that the Panthers have kind of underserviced you? They haven't put great offensive line around you. They haven't put a bunch of good wide receivers until recently, and he's been hurt. I mean, I think Cam Newton wants to play here. That's my opinion. I think Cam Newton wants to be a Carolina Panther next season and for the rest of his career. But I also do see a possibility being real that Cam Newton says, well, look, if some other team, okay, let's say, for example, if the Bears did have a first-round pick, yeah, the Bears have a loaded defense. They have Allen Robinson, who's incredible. They have good weapons. Maybe there is another team out there that I would be more successful on, and they would build an offense around me where you finally see the kind of potential year in and year out that we've all been expecting from Cam Newton. Maybe he does feel that way, and it's a very real possibility that we at least have to consider.
It's getting that 7-year itch is what it is.
Yeah, or maybe, maybe he's also reading the tea leaves about David Tepper as well. Maybe he wants to play here, but just feels like, well, David Tepper is probably going to, save the money and move on anyway. So I might as well accept it and have my eyes set on my next destination and making sure I'm healthy enough to play football there.
Yeah.
Cody said that Cody, you phrased it as this, is that you know how we feel, and he's spoken with authority for the podcast because he knows that he can speak on Cam Newton in that way, and we're all in one accord on that. And I want to tell you is that I don't do a lot of promotion in the podcast, or at least, I try to keep it to a minimum. But we have had these shirts, these I Stand With Cam t-shirts that I printed in 2016. I had it after he was taking all those hits to the head, and there was questions about, do people, you know what I'm saying, as people were talking junk about him, the refs aren't giving all this, but each and every single year, the meaning of the I Stand With Cam t-shirt has changed, and it's had multiple meanings in the year. And so it was such a mantra of the podcast. And shout out to Levon and Chance. I'm not going to use your last names. These cats bought some I Stand With Cam t-shirts after I mentioned it in the last podcast. One cat bought 111. He bought all the shirts.
Oh, wow.
$111. I only had like 12 of them. There's not many left. There might still be a couple. But I looked so I was using the bathroom today, and I checked the app, and I got a notification. I was like, good God. I was like, nobody's ever bought $40 worth of shirts on this website, let alone 100. I was like, oh, this must be a typo. But my man, Chance, you stand with Cam. Levon, you stand with Cam. We stand with Cam. And you can support this podcast by subscribing, telling a friend about it, and maybe even considering buying one of those T-shirts. Really, all they do is help us continue to talk about this so I can pay for things like the website and the host and that to that effect. So thank you for that support right there. Guys, the fans, they have a lot to say, and we need to get to these cat calls. You know that's where it's at tonight. Let's see what people have been saying about Cam Newton and the Panthers' loss in Green Bay.
So what are your thoughts on catcalling?
Yeah, it's pretty you shouldn't do that to somebody.
And how did that make you feel?
Very uncomfortable.
So how do you think catcalling makes the person feel?
It feels good, like...
Who's that cat sitting in the back corner with his face buried in his nose? Who's that kid that can use one?
Hey, C3 Panthers podcast. This is my first time listening, and I'm loving it. First of all, can I pause and give a shout out to all our veterans coming up on Veterans Day. Me myself, I'm currently serving overseas in the Middle East, and get to hear all the good stuff about Panthers Nation. Originally from Salisbury, my grandparents helped me become a Panthers fan. So, Panthers Nation.
Yes, sir. Thank you.
My name is Brandon, and I just got to say that was a crazy-ass game, man. I believe Kyle Allen has been doing great for his first season. I believe this is his first season starting, so I just got to say he's helped to prove us. He's above 500. We're above 500 right now, so I think if he wasn't there, we wouldn't be above 500.
Truth.
Kyle Allen, he's learning a shit ton from Cam Newton being on the sidelines. I'm sure he's getting a lot of guidance, so there's a lot for him to continue to learn. He's very young, but experience comes from being on the field and getting more reps. So Also, on a side note, I believe he did great playing in the snow. That was our last drive.
Yeah.
That last drive, it came down to it. There was a lot of times our O-line couldn't hold on because, man, they kept getting Allen so fast he couldn't even make a good decision. So, but he still got a career high in passing yards, so that's a good thing. On the other side of the ball, our defense made lots of bad mistakes, man, including some iffy penalties and giving up a bunch of those huge 10-yard runs, man. A 40-yard passing pass on 3rd and 6, and also 163 yards on the ground. But they did hold Aaron Jones to under 100 yards, even though he got 3 fucking touchdowns. It sucks, but there's a lot to talk about from the game, good and bad. But keep doing what y'all doing and keep pounding. Thanks, y'all.
Keep pounding.
Good call.
Brandon, fantastic call. Thank you.
Correct me if I'm wrong. That's the first call we've ever gotten from someone in the military overseas serving, huh?
Yeah.
We might. I don't know. That might be the first. It's definitely one of the few, if the very little, maybe one other.
Brandon, shout out to you, brother. Thank you for your call and thank you for your service, man. That does not go unseen. Yeah, man. I think that call kind of echoed a lot of our sentiments. I mean, there was a lot to like. I mean, if you're not proud of that Panthers effort at the end, yeah, we came up short. But, man, if you're not proud of that effort, then, man, I don't know what's going to do it for you. I mean, we were in a driving snow. It was the most Green Bay Packers game I've ever seen in my life. Yeah. Started snowing in the middle of the game. Kyle grew up a Packers fan. His dad was a fan of the Packers. So this was a huge moment for Kyle Allen, and he threw for a career high in yards. So I'm happy for the young man. And, yeah, if it wasn't for him being a good, competent quarterback, this season could be a lot worse than it currently is, could be a lot less fun than it currently is. So, yeah, I think because of the comparisons between him and Cam Newton, it comes off that we don't like him or that we're not grateful for him, I fear. And that's not the case, man. Kyle Allen has done an incredible job. And especially for someone that, like I said, is learning on the job, I mean, you have to commend him for that.
No. Well, his biggest problem, y'all hear me?
Yep.
Yeah.
Okay, I would say his biggest problem, I think, to begin the season was he's never been a fantastic quarterback, but he's a pretty decent one. His biggest problem was fumbles, and he seems to have fixed that problem. So if he can, I don't mind a quarterback throwing an interception every once in a while because it happens. As long as you can hold on to the ball when you get hit or when you're scrambling, he seems to have fixed that problem. He's starting to understand the offense a little better and get a little more comfortable. It seems like his ball is much more easily catchable to the receivers also, because I see the receivers making catches, like diving back and making catches that Cam will throw to him, and they always drop.
Well, because the ball isn't moving 90 miles an hour a vintage Cam Newton pass.
Yeah. They haven't done that as much in the last couple of years, have they, Cody?
No, they haven't, man, and it's sad. And I think G Baby from Utah on the post game kind of echoed that, man. Like, how many fans have come to the Carolina Panthers because of Cam Newton? I'm one of them. I used to be ashamed to say that because I was afraid that people would call me a bandwagon fan. Dude, I don't give a damn.
You're right with one of the most unpopular players in NFL history. You ain't no bandwagon fan.
I wear that on my chest, and I'm a Panthers fan till I die. But I love me some Cam Newton, and I want him to be the quarterback of the future.
I want to thank the caller, Brandon, I believe, for calling in. Is tremendous. Look, how about this? Is the idea that someone's calling in from halfway across the planet as they are serving us in our country. That is, it makes me happy. And what I mean by that is that it's an honor that you're listening to our podcast across the world as you're, doing things that are big and important. And I would like to point out, as like I say, you call me the professor, is that I do teach history on the side. And we'll point out this is that yesterday, Veterans Day, is a salute to veterans, and it's become a national holiday for us, where it is our our tip of the cap, our thank you to people in service and what they've given. But it goes back to Armistice Day, November 11th, 1918, the end of World War I, and the most devastating conflict the world had seen at that point. Estimated of 13 million dead in that conflict. You can think about Paris losing an entire generation of men, and the focus that the American society had to put towards, like, gearing towards war. Everybody was affected by this across the world and throughout America. And what I would like to thank Brandon Across Seas is this, and all the people of service today, is that while that conflict was so devastating to the world, it is their efforts today that make me feel like all this crap is going on in my life, and I don't even know it in my life. I'm not saying I don't want to think about it, but how nice is it to live in a society where people are taking care of us so much to the fact that we can talk about football on the internet, and all of this important crap is going on through the world, and they are shielding us for that. So thank you for that, because we are insulated from it. We're so insulated. And you know what is one thing we all agree on? Screw the Falcons.
We definitely agree on that.
Yes.
Okay.
Fuck the Falcons. How about that?
Yeah. There you go. Thanks for the call. Let's keep going. Let's see what else they got.
Yo, what's up, guys? It's Nick from up in Mass. So, just listened to the podcast from after the game, and, you know, one thing I will say about the debate, whether or not it's the coaches or the players, you know, who is the majority to blame. I think the easiest way to solve this issue would be to ask either some former NFL player or somebody who's currently in the NFL about it. You know, I know that we had somebody on the podcast, I believe it was for the Arizona game, who used to play in the NFL. And that would give you at least the background information as far as whether or not they teach people how to tackle.
That's a good idea.
There is some merit to be said that, you know, by this point, you're in the NFL, you should know how to wrap up the fucking tackle. You know, there's no question about it. But at least if you were to get a professional opinion who's been there, they can at least point us in the right direction as far as how in-depth some teams go with training people how to tackle.
Yeah.
I mean,
fair
just
point.
so that way, you know, we're done arguing between ourselves. Now,
hold on. I want to pause. I'm gonna pause that. I'm gonna pause it right there, because you remember when we got the clock? That does sound awesome, doesn't it? It's essentially like a tackling consultant, right?
Yeah.
So
like the Arizona guy that we had on, I think he was the one that played, right?
Well, my point is this, is that with the tackling, we thought we were getting a time management consultant. And then you guys brought it to my attention that as we got someone who is a time management official or assistant, that he's just like one of the guys already doing the job. Yeah, so it's not even like, it's not like we really prioritize. It's like, hey guys, somebody's got to keep up with the clock.
Yeah,
Somebody's got to get, who is going to be the new tackling consultant for this? I hope it's Cody Lashney. Run those asses over.
I mean, hey, hire me. I'm looking for a job chasing after some assholes. Let's go. But so I don't know if anyone's ever seen this video before, but it's on YouTube. You can look it up. The Seattle Seahawks and Pete Carroll have a video that they have online, and it's all about tackling. And they implement rugby-style tackling. So it does an emphasis leading with your head, and it's always leading with your shoulders, and it's wrapping up at the hips. And I know in the video, at least, he says that this is something that we drill into our guys. Because one, not only is it the safest method of tackling because you're not putting your head and your neck at risk, but it makes sure that you wrap up on every play, and it's still aggressive. I mean, this is the type of coaching style that was implemented in the Legion of Boom and that legendary secondary. So I don't know if maybe the Panthers need to incorporate something like that. I don't know what it is, but it just does feel to me like there is a diligence that is not being done on this football team when it comes to, one, like Ron said, gap assignments, and number two, wrapping up when you tackle and making sure that when you get your hands on someone or when you have the opportunity to, you do not let them go and let them out of sight.
So you think guys are trying to thump instead of wrap up, basically?
Yeah, I think guys are kind of looking to lay the wood on them and get a big highlight reel knockdown tackle instead of going for the safe, wrap up with your arms tackle to make sure that you make the play.
Tin Tizzy says this, it seems like they're going for sacks instead of run blocking. And Brad Dugan, you stupid. Brad Dugan, he said Ron must have got an F in first grade on read the clock. My man said, nah, that's a quarter after. You're like, nope, that's a half pass, Ron. Poor Ron over there, his mom struggling with him. Read the clock. All right. Could somebody have one more thing to say before we go? That's my favorite comment of the night.
That's all I have.
All right. Let's go with it. There's more call. There's more of the call.
Let's do it.
I've been a fan of Carolina for almost a year now. Me and Josh went to week, I think it was 17 last year. It was when we played the Falcons at home. And that was the first ever Carolina game I had ever seen, first one I had ever been to. And, I became a fan at that game. And I've heard all these legends about Cam Newton, how awesome he is, and I've never gotten to see him. So, I hope and pray that we do him right, we keep him here, we give him a chance to play. So not only do I get the chance to see Cam Newton at full fucking strength and to see what he actually brings to the table, but so that way the guy can prove himself. Based off of what I've heard you guys say, that's the least that he deserves. I know for a fact that we got him on the cheap right now. Yes, $19 million is a lot of money, and it gives you a lot of options for other players. But come on, let's give the guy a freaking chance. He's carried this team on his back for the last 9 years. Give him the chance to actually come to the table fully healthy. Let's build up the offensive line around him, so that way, if he does break out, at least he has a couple more years with a good offensive line. Work on the defense a little bit. Let's get this thing going. There's no need to get rid of the guy. Love the show, guys. Keep commenting. Let me know what your thoughts are.
I think he's just kind of seconding our sentiments that we had earlier about Cam, or not seconding, but kind of saying the same thing we were. Where I think we all feel like Cam deserves a chance to prove himself again, to show that he's still the guy that he was.
Imagine not being able to see. Imagine not seeing Cam.
Doesn't it?
Imagine thinking about Cam and not ever seeing. You know what I'm saying? Think of that. 3 years.
Doesn't it kind of seem like a unicorn now? Like healthy Cam Newton, vintage Cam Newton. It's like it's so far yet so close at the same time. Because listen, let's speak to the real fear. Let's say Cam Newton does go to Tampa Bay or Tennessee or the Chargers or wherever, and then what if our worst fears are realized and Cam Newton becomes Super Cam again, but this time for a different team that isn't the Carolina Panthers? It would make me furious because I've been telling everyone that this is who Cam Newton is. This is the kind of quarterback that we have on our hands. You just have to give him a little help and make sure that he's healthy. But if that were to happen, man, I think that it's going to alienate a lot of fans like myself. Now, I'm not going nowhere. I'm going to be a Panther fan to the day I die, man. But I already know that there are fans that are like, listen, man, after the way the organization has treated Cam Newton, wherever Cam goes, I'm going with him. And that's not what I would do, but there's a lot of fans that think that way.
All right, a lot of Peyton Manning fans like that.
Yeah.
The number is 252-228-5098. You can be a part of the longest running Panthers podcast out there. Let's see what these guys got to say.
C3, what's going on? This is Simple Southern Customs. I am a first-time caller. I've been listening basically this whole season.
What's up, man?
I like
welcome. Welcome to the show.
The autonomy to kind of speak your mind freely. It's pretty cool because, I mean, shout out to Bill Voth and Max Henson. They kind of got their hands tied with what they can talk about. But, no, I like you guys have that option of speaking your mind. But I kind of wanted to throw a new wrench in the Cam Newton conversation.
Yeah, man, let us have it.
CBA, the collective bargaining agreement happening at the end of next season, do you guys think that maybe his agent is playing chess while we're all playing checkers, holding out until the end of next season to try to get a larger contract? I don't know. I don't know if that's a possibility or not, but I don't know if we're just looking too short-sighted at this when they're playing the long game. I don't know. I'm a big Cam fan. I'm glad to find somebody else or some podcast that loves Cam as much as I do. Shout out there.
Right?
Confused on who we're playing next week because I thought we were playing Seattle for the next 4 weeks after Greg was talking about it. But no, shout out to you guys. Keep doing what you're doing. Keep pounding.
I love this call right here. This is one of my favorite calls. One, he references to a little kind of attitude of our podcast, and that is what it's always been, and that is just some fans talking about what we see and what we think about the show. We're not reporters. We're telling you what we think. We're just fans here. We take what we do seriously, not ourselves seriously. Again, I think another thing I like about this call is, guys, that he brings up a great point. CBA comes up is that we are on the precipice of it changing the rules, right? Is every year we see the revenue of the sport grow. We look around to the other industries, the other sports, the NBA, the MLB, baseball, and these guys got strong unions. They got better deals when it comes to the revenue sharing of their league. There will be a time where there is a sort of reckoning in the NFL, and these owners are trying to hold it off as much as they can. How does this relate to Cam Newton? I do think this is important, and I actually think it lends to him playing this year, or next year, next year. Because if he can show himself in a great position, and Chef Jeff, credit to Chef Jeff, who brought this to my attention and our attention, Cody, is that if Cam Newton did come back and play great next year, people are talking about trade this, cut this, what about franchise tag this? Right?
Yeah, it's
and that might be gone. The franchise tag might be gone.
I think it will be.
CBA.
That's one of the things that they're talking about axing.
That's why I think this call is smart. This is a smart call.
It's very smart, and it is certainly something that I know players are thinking about it because they're dealing with the NFLPA all the time. We just don't know about it because they have no reason to tell us that they do. But talks have been underway for a long time now, and it's going to affect a lot. They're probably going to extend the NFL season and shorten the number of preseason games. There are a few changes, big changes, mind you, right on the precipice. We're coming up right on them. And
there's more money coming to these players too. That's the thing. There's got to be more money coming to these players.
But I think the last point that I want to make about it is, and it's so hard for Cam Newton. You know, if he, it's a big question on whether or not he renegotiates now or later. Well, Cam Newton can say,
he can't renegotiate now. He can't.
Well, no, it can't and you and I talked about this before. If Cam Newton, what's the likelihood of him demanding another contract, or he's not going to play? And you kind of spoke on that a little bit. But what I'm kind of alluding to is you always run the risk of, playing well for the first however many games. Basically, let's say he had a duplicate 2018 season where he started off well, but then got hurt. Then that affects his money-making value going into 2021. So, that's why a lot of players don't like the franchise tag. You're guaranteeing them a large sum of money, but only for 1 year. So it's not really a guarantee of future assets coming your way. So that's why I don't see Cam Newton playing under a franchise tag. And I think Cam Newton is probably likely going to play next year under the current contract. If we decide to keep him, I don't see him holding out, but it is something to think about.
Greg, I'm going to turn the mic over to you. And just with on that comment, though, it's like you can't see Cam playing under a franchise tag. You don't have a choice, I don't think, in this day and age, unless the rules are changed with this new CBA.
Well, you cannot sign the tag.
Yeah, but you know what I'm saying? That is, they're gonna. That's a dead option. I feel like for players.
It kind of is, and that's why the franchise tag is somewhat unfair. But I have a real big problem with players and this guaranteed money thing and wanting to be partners with the NFL, because this is a job. I can't go to my job and tell my boss that I want to be a partner with you, and if they don't want to do it with me, expect it to happen. Like, it just...
Well, you could if you had a stronger union.
Well, I work for the post office. I have one of the strongest unions in the country in any job. Trust me, I couldn't go to my boss and tell him that I want to be a partner with them. But here's my thing is, I think I get so tired of hearing about the money situation, because they're always comparing themselves to NBA players and MLB players. And, okay, let's see. The NBA has a soft cap, which means that the owner can pay extra money if they want to break the cap, which is basically what happened with, like, the Golden State Warriors, while they dominated for so many years, because they had a rich owner that would pay the cap or pay the penalty to pay these players. And you're also talking about paying 14 players as opposed to 52 plus a practice squad. You look at the MLB, they don't have a salary cap. You're talking about 25 players. So you can't compare the two sports.
But you can, and this is that they have fully guaranteed contracts, bro.
Okay.
These mugs sign a 200 when you get a get a football contract, they say it's worth $120 million. But the last $30 million ain't worth jack, except for Kirk Cousins, who signed a fully guaranteed, but the contracts are so short. Just look at it. You make $300 million being in the major leagues. And you can be
a 10-year contract.
But you could also be the best football player in the NFL and not even sniff that.
No.
And then on top of that is that, like, none of us barely watch Major League Baseball. Everybody watches damn football.
Here's my issue with it. And I want somebody, if anybody's out there that can tell me this in the chat room, or either of y'all, name one player in the NFL that's gotten fully guaranteed money, because there's only been a handful of them.
Kirk Cousins.
Okay, hold on. That has performed like they did before they got that contract. Because once they get that money, their play always goes down. I cannot name
Cam
one
Newton.
player.
Cam Newton
didn't get fully guaranteed
well,
stuff.
Not
and guess
fully
what?
guaranteed, but Cam Newton got his big deal and then went and became MVP.
Well, Greg, what I think the counter argument to that would be, and by the way, I'm not really on one side or the other. As long as we end up seeing football, I'm good with whatever happens.
There could be a lockout.
I think. Well, right, but I think to play devil's advocate, kind of to what you're saying, Greg, is that these players are looking at the NFL. No one makes more money than the NFL, and when you compare how much money the NBA players and the MLB players make compared to how much those organizations as a whole bring in, NFL players probably see less of that pie than when you compare it to other sports. You add on top of that there's no other sport that is as physically taxing as football, and what they have to go through in training and
shorter careers.
Yeah, and now you have issues of CTE coming up, and is it going to affect my long-term health and my mental health? So I think
There's one other thing, Cody. Yeah. There's one other thing, and that is that they would just say for the baseball and basketball, they play like 40 home games, right? They play 80 and so that might even lend more credence to your argument is that the NFL makes this a larger amount of money than all of them probably on just 16 games a year. But the other thing is that NFL rosters are a lot bigger than
way bigger. That's the thing is you got to cut the pie up a lot more ways. Man.
You want to hear an interesting fact? So there's 450 active NBA players. The average NBA salary is $7.7 million. Okay, that equals $3.5 billion a year that they're paying their players. Now flip that around. The average NFL salary is $2.1 million.
Okay.
Now we have to spread that over 1,700 players, not 450. If you average that out, that's 3.56 billion. So they're very close if you look at the total amount that are being paid to the players. So,
what was the first number again, CK? What was the first number?
NBA's total payout for salary average is $3.465 billion a year. And that's not breaking it down per person. That is the total amount that is being paid out to players for 450 players.
That's the point. Is that, look at that, is that those numbers are close, and NBA is making so much more money.
This was the exact argument that was going on between Jerry Richardson and people like Peyton Manning during the last CBA. I mean, Jerry Richardson was at the forefront of this very conversation that we're having right now. And basically, Jerry Richardson was kind of saying the same thing that Greg is now, that, you can only inflate NFL contracts by so much because there are so many more people to play, and there's operating costs and all these other costs.
Practice squads,
people don't realize that NFL teams also pay for their own travel. Yeah. So that means they pay for the jets that take the teams.
Oh, poor boys. Poor fucking boys.
I'm not taking the side here.
I'm taking the players' side. Give the players more money.
Look,
he also said you should have Jeans Friday. Let's go to the next call. We got so many calls. Let's get through them.
Okay.
Fellas, what's happening? This is AJ down here. And
AJ, what's up?
I ain't called in a while, but really got to after listening to all the shows and everything. It's kind of a recurring theme about,
cover me, Cody.
Fire Ron, fire Ron, fire
Yep.
Ron, fire Ron, and fire Ron. But hey, not really on that wagon. Run defense is atrocious.
Okay.
I'll agree with that. The one thing I can say in Ron's defense, and I'll break it down this way, with our run defense, or defense as a whole, really, the one thing they addressed this offseason was rushing the quarterback. They've done a pretty good job of bringing guys in to rush the quarterback as a whole.
Very good.
On the run side of things, when you look around our defense, we're not a run-stopping defense. Okay?
No, not anymore.
That's just not what they're doing. And you can't sit there and say, Cody, I'm gonna say this, okay? I'm gonna agree with Greg.
Hey, come on, man. It's all right.
You
Let's
can't
go.
say that Ron is not, or any of the defensive coaching is not during the week saying, guys, you gotta tackle better, you gotta wrap up, tackle. That's the most important thing. You can't say Ron's just sitting back going, damn, these guys suck at tackling, but I'm not gonna say nothing to them. But you can't do that. Okay, the players have to make the plays. Okay, that's number one. Number two.
Sounds like he's on my side.
Oh, yeah, for sure.
What did Don Terry Poe get kicked out of KC for to begin with? He's a big dude, but he's a pass rushing lineman. He's not a tackle run stuffer. He never has been. That's why they moved on from him. He didn't fit him.
Fair point.
What was Gerald McCoy bad at with Tampa? Stopping the run. He's just not good at it. Okay, what do we have on our end? They're not run stoppers. We lost
Pass
Thomas
rushers.
Davis,
Yeah.
one of the best run-hitting linebackers in the league. Luke Kuechly, amazing linebacker. He's getting a lot of, blocking on him now because they're just not filling the spaces. Okay, he's a sideline-to-sideline pursuer, tackler, and a coverage linebacker. He's good at it. Okay, he is not the guy to go down.
You're not biased, are you?
And lay somebody out. It's just not his game. When they bring Eric Reed down into the 8 front, Reed's a hitter. He is not a tackler. That's just not the game, okay? That's not what they're able to do right now. So they have to focus on rushing the quarterback and hoping it works. And that's all you can say about it. They're limited in run defense, and it shows every week. There's nothing Ron can really do about this except for address it next offseason because they don't have nobody to address it this year.
I think he got cut off. AJ, thank you for your call, man. I'll kind of jump in on this first. One, thank you for the call, but I still disagree with you, man. And I'm sure Greg could counter me if he wants to. I'm sure he will. But my mindset on it is this. Yeah, we're predicated on getting to the quarterback. But if that doesn't work, then it's time to do something different. If that isn't working, if you're being too aggressive and you're overcommitting on rushing the quarterback, then you have to change it up or they're going to continue to gash you. And one of my criticisms on Ron Rivera is that he isn't an adjustment head coach. He's not a coach. And this isn't recency bias. This isn't last year or even the last 2 years. We've had 9 years of Ron Rivera. And the same criticisms that he's had in the first 2 or 3 or 4 years have been the same in the last 3 years. So we're seeing the same tendencies from Ron Rivera, and Ron Rivera defenses specifically continue to rise and continue to pop up. So to the tackling issue, if they're not tackling and you see that your guys are not making plays like they need to, well, then it's incumbent on your coaches to say, okay, let's everyone reset and let's start to drill these fundamentals over again, whether it be gap awareness, like we were talking about earlier, or just basic fundamentals on wrapping up when you tackle. If it's a problem a few times, then yeah, your players are being hard-headed and not doing their job. But if it's a consistent over and over again type of issue, then it's systematic at that point. And it's coming from the people that are installing the defense. And that's pretty much why I'm hard on these coaches about the tackling issue.
Well, I mean, you make a very good point. I mean, I'm not. That's the thing is, I don't totally disagree with you, Cody, on this either. Like
right.
We've gone back and forth about it. But I definitely don't totally disagree with you on it. He very much put forward my sentiments on the way I feel about it, but he went further in depth about it. He kind of broke down why it's not an excuse to not be a good tackling team, but possibly why we're not as good of a tackling team. Because he's right, we're more of a pass rushing team and everything else. The thing I get pounding in more about the training and everything else is they are limited to that. Like nowadays, and that's what pisses me off about players being paid so much more now than they ever have been, because they're doing less work than they ever have. I mean, they're limited. They're limited to what they can do in practice. They can only practice for so many hours. They can only wear pads for so long. You know, it's not like a drill sergeant type deal like it used to be, where if you didn't do this, you get back in the dirt and you keep doing it.
Where I differ with you on the statement of where I get so upset about how much they're paid more today is that, well, I also get upset with how much more the NFL makes today.
Yeah.
And how much more it costs for me to go to the stadium and how much it more, so is that, here's the thing, is that if you're talking about that kind of common man argument, it doesn't really favor the owners.
But you realize that if you pay the players more, you're going to pay more for those tickets and those jerseys, right?
But they don't do the one before the other. You know what I'm saying? I feel like this is they making their money. Look, the damn Washington Redskins are still in existence, bro. If you're ready to revoke a team, you know what I'm saying? Like, I do think that is, like, if we really want to talk about the new collective bargaining agreement, it should be the collective bargaining agreement with fans, where you buy the season tickets at an 8-8 price. And if they exceed it, you know what I'm saying? Maybe next year they're a little bit more. If they give you a 1-in-15 season, then they better give you a free beer on the way out the door or something. So, you know what I mean, is that, look, I have no love lost for billionaires for me. Let's go on to the next call.
I'm back. Got cut off, but,
same call.
Pretty much all I have really on the defense side of things. I mean, they're doing great. I mean, they're top of the line when it comes to rushing the passer, right?
No, not anymore. No, I think it's fraudulent.
The guys
I think it's a fraudulent pass rush.
Push in to get, if you can't hit the running back in the backfield, okay, with the lineman up front. And I know we're in a 3-4. But if you're not able to penetrate and hit the back in the backfield, by the time he gets past that first line, our linebackers...
Yeah, it's fraudulent. If you can't stop the run, it's not a real pass rush.
...are being blocked. In the last game...
I know that doesn't make sense to most people, but I believe it.
We're being held like the whole game, but, I mean, that wasn't getting called. But, I mean, to me, now this is to me, and I'm not perfect. I just see what I see. I read it how I read it. But that's where we're flawed at when you look at the pieces that were brought in over.
Here, I want to pause it there and explain what I'm. Yeah, go ahead. Explain what I meant there. When I say it's fraudulent, because if you can't stop the run while you're trying to rush the passer, it doesn't make any sense. The thing is that we're not blitzing. I have not seen the Panthers just send in all these all-out blitzes. That's the problem. Is there's not a natural. The pass rush is actually probably created a little bit more because our secondary is playing well in coverage, and things are taking longer to develop. I'm going to continue with the call. That's what my point was, is that, no, pass rush and a running defense are not the same thing. I understand.
Last year, prior to, it's just not a good deal against the run. And offensively, a caller had a call in that, the line's always hurt, and we have been. And they're not doing a great job, and, I mean, everybody can see that. The wide receiver's really starting to get going. I like that. Kyle Allen's doing what Kyle Allen can do. And look, here's the deal. If this team makes the playoffs, and I know everybody will say, well, we can't do nothing in the playoffs. Well, you don't know until you get there.
That's
Number
true.
one. Number two, if they make the playoffs, if this team right here with Kyle Allen makes the playoffs, I hate to say it, but it's going to go to the coaching staff. It's not going to go to the players making the plays or overcome what the coaching, the poor coaching. No. A head coach is there to keep the team together. He is not there to be this new offensive play calling, mind, awesome stuff. What do you think is going to happen 2 or 3 years from now when all the defense catch up to the offensive gurus?
It goes back and forth. It ebbs and flows.
Look at the San Francisco 49ers. If they don't have the defensive coordinator they have on that team is not what they are. Period. Okay? It goes through cycles. The constant are the good coaches that can stay with a team. You're going to have loops where you go up and down. It's going to happen. But if you keep a team together, that's what counts the most. Now, is Ron perfect? Heck no. Do I disagree with a lot of what he does? Yeah. Oh, well. It's football. You just play, and you got to hope you come out on top. With all that being said, hey, I love what you guys do every week, listening. Cam for 2020, baby. I hope he stays, and I think.
Thank you for the call. Let's keep going. You got something to say, Cody?
Just one.
Go ahead, CK.
I was sorry. I didn't realize that. So I have one point, and as critical as I've been of Ron lately, I've always been somebody who's voiced my appreciation for what he's done. And I agree with him. If we make the playoffs, even if as a wild card, I think that does fall on coaching to be able to say that you took an offensive line.
And it should. It should.
With a backup quarterback, and you were able to do that. This latter half of the season is going to tell us so much about what we have with Ron Rivera. It's not even funny. And this is going to be, honestly, him over the fires. So I actually like that point. The one other thing I wanted to mention was talking about the pass rush. You guys know how many snaps Brian Burns had of this game?
How many?
11.
Whew. Almost like that isn't enough.
11 out of 68.
11 out of 68.
That's how often.
What do you think about that? Why do you think that?
He had less snaps than Wes Horton, F.A. Obata, Kyle
That's
Love,
embarrassing.
Vernon Butler.
Oh my God! You just
Javian Elliott.
Stuck a knife through my heart, CK. God.
Who are we talking about?
We're talking about how many players.
Say it again. Let's read this list again. This list is
comical.
All right, so Brian Burns had 11 snaps, Greg, and this is the list of people who had more snaps than him. Go, CK.
F.A. Obata, Wes Horton, Kyle Love, Vernon Butler, Javian Elliott. Obviously, you have Dontore Poe, McCoy, Addison, Irvin, Jackson. Cole Luke had the same amount of snaps that Brian Burns had.
Okay, Cody, I'm climbing your hill with that comment.
My hill, man.
I'm climbing your hill with that
Next
comment.
to me,
Yeah.
dude. I got s'mores.
Don't you know,
I got
guys?
movies.
Don't you know that Brian Burns, 3 of his fingers cannot grab jerseys?
Now,
Well,
Dakota
exactly.
Tumbleton says he's injured.
I'm so
Why-
tired of
why
this
are you
stupid
thinking-
conversation about his cast.
Here's my issue, okay? We got Greg Dortch a couple weeks ago, and he did a decent job returning for us a couple weeks ago, right? So if Brian Burns is not healthy, don't put him in there as an active participant because he is not contributing right now if you don't think he's able to contribute. If you're only going to pay him 11 or play him 11 snaps, there's no point in him being in there.
Right.
Why would you keep White in there who has no experience returning kicks, who's muffed 2 kicks on the day yesterday, causing us to have horrible field position? Tell me I don't care if Brian Burns is hurt. Fine. If he's hurt, keep him out of the game. Put him as an inactive.
Fire.
CK
He
just
spit
brought
fire.
so much.
He spit
CK just
fire,
brought so
dude.
much heat. Because listen, it's speaking to the truth, man. It's team management. There is a team management issue that Ron Rivera continues to display. To having the wrong packages on the field in third down. Listen, him being injured, Brian Burns being injured, that isn't an excuse. Because if he's that hurt, then he shouldn't be in a position to even play anyway if he's not going to contribute. I mean, and you're hurting him for later on down the road when you might need him in a game versus Seattle or something like that. It's just, I mean, listen, I always bring up the fact that it took the big Samoan dude.
Mina Silatulu.
Amini Silatolu. It took Amini Silatolu getting injured before he put in Andrew Norwell at left guard and realized that he had a Pro Bowl left guard on his hands. Like, there are so many examples of it now. It's like a player has to get hurt before Ron Rivera will play the younger guy. Hey, do you remember that we drafted a tight end by the name of Ian Moore? Do you ever see
His
him?
name's Ian Thomas. His name's Ian Thomas.
But
No, I don't remember Ian Moore.
Do we ever see him play? I mean, it's the same thing with Cameron.
Where is he? Where is he this season? Again, this was a conversation that was had a month ago. Where is he, though?
It's all.
Yeah, I'll just make your point, and then I'll pick it back off of.
Ian Thomas had 4 snaps in the offense, and Chris Manhertz had 23.
Chris Manhertz, right? So you want to continue
Because he's our 7th offensive lineman. That's why.
But like, and it's so infuriating that we brought in another running back. Because what's the point of having all this younger talent on the team if you're not going to give them the opportunity to play meaningful snaps and get better when it matters? The Panthers
you bring in that
do
player?
not develop their players well.
Did you bring in the Michael whatever guy? We don't even know his name. And he went, but I thought at first, I was like, well, maybe he's a special teams guy. And then I heard somebody on the radio say, he's not even had any experience. So is that a GM scratching another GM's back saying they let go of somebody, give this guy, yeah. And that's what I wonder is that it doesn't make any sense, right? It makes 0 sense. That almost seems like a GM doing a favor for another GM because they had to let a guy go they didn't want to go and give him a couple of dollars for the week. But you're right there is that where is this roster at this point? You're looking at this as they're sticking with the horses, and Ron Rivera has always struggled to a certain degree. Not to a certain degree. He's never gone with the hot hand, it seems like.
Right.
And how would he even know?
Well, with this point, Cody, I got your back completely with the coaching being terrible about that. I'm with you totally.
Where is Ian Thomas? Can someone tell us? Can we answer that first? Where is he? Is he just not? Do we not run an offense that needs another tight end ever? Is that where we're at?
I find it hard to believe that we can't find a place for him and just more believing that Ron Rivera is just a stubborn old
Well,
coach
even
that
is this
likes
a little
his
on?
guys.
Is this on Norv? I hate to say that, but also, but you're talking about a team that we continue to worry a little bit about in the red zone because of size, right? It's because DJ Moore and Curtis Samuel are their stretch the field guys and run after the catch guys. But if you're, say it's 2nd and 7 or 2nd and goal. Right, their size is not necessarily a great advantage for you. Yeah. You think all of a sudden that's when we trot out Greg Olsen and Ian Thomas right there and give us a little size and then keep DJ Moore out there. Ian Thomas missing in action might be one of the secret stories of the Carolina Panthers right now.
And listen, this is the last thing I'll say on the subject, and it goes back to AJ, who just called into us. When you talk about, he talked about the 49ers, and that team wouldn't be as good if they didn't have Robert Saleh, their defensive coordinator. By the way, Nick says I have an echo, Tony. I don't know if you can fix that or not. But, yeah, I think that the flaw in that theory of thinking that if you go with an offensive-minded head coach that your defense suffers in return, I mean, if you look at the best defensive or the offensive-minded head coaches in the NFL, the Sean Paytons, the Kyle Shanahans, they do have these incredible defenses that are playing really well right now. And I think where an offensive coordinator can take you further is because they're capable of letting their defense win a football game for them, but always having their offense do just enough to make sure that they can move the ball and kill the clock and put the ball in the end zone when it matters the most. So, Tony, you said that we have a fraudulent pass rush. Well, if you look at the 49ers, they didn't even let us pass rush because all they had to do was run the football.
Well, so it is fraudulent if you can't ever do it, too, right?
Right, but as a coach, if you know their weakness, then your offense doesn't have to be a high-powered, high-flying offense. It means that you know how to match up with the other team's defense and outmaneuver them. And that's what the NFL is right now. So that's why I'm in favor of better coaches than who the Carolina Panthers currently employ. And I want a new, more open-minded offensive regime in Carolina. And I've been saying this for a long time now.
All right.
That's it from me.
Yeah, wonderful. Let's go to the next call.
Tony, Cody, Greg, CK, all of them. This is AJ again.
Is this third call in a row?
A little bit earlier, but
nice.
I know y'all said y'all want to talk about Cam a little bit.
Therapy.
Today's Tuesday, or not, whatever. But I just got done listening to pre-game show this morning. Sorry. I just wanted to mention about Cam myself. I hope it sounds like he's going to get the surgery, and that's awesome. I hope he's back by March or whatever. But there's only
they said there's an echo, Tony. I don't know if it's still there.
Makes any sense at all, and he needs to play with the Panthers next year. I know the media abroad, they don't want Cam in Carolina for one reason. They're trying to drive Cam to a big market. They want him to go to a big market. I've heard LA, Chicago. Michael Robinson last weekend, it made no sense what he said, and at the same time it did. But he was talking about how Cam Newton, he's not the same player, blah this, blah that, If he can be healthy, that's one thing, but his days in Carolina's done. And then he turns around and says, but if he signs with the Tennessee Titans, and will you get the Cam Newton of old? Oh, they're my Super Bowl pick. And I'm just listening to him like, what the hell are you talking about? How can you say that when he's done in Carolina, but if he goes here, Super Bowl pick, and people want him to go to Chicago to replace Trubisky, he's still young. Matt Nagy is an overrated coach. That's a terrible situation for Cam because you have Trubisky on the bench then. So if Cam makes any little mistake, then Trubisky comes back in, and then Cam looks bad. So he never should go to Chicago. He should only play in Carolina to show every motherfucking person out there that I'm the damn
Yep.
man, okay? Because he is. When he's healthy, there's nobody better than him. I don't care what anybody says. He might not be the best thrower, but he's a fucking man, all right? Now,
agreed. I like this dude a lot.
That's on them, but they better sign his ass. I'll always keep pounding with the Panthers, no matter with Cam here or not. But if Cam goes somewhere else, I'm going to pull for him to win. If it's Atlanta, I'll hate that. I'm with you on that, Tony. But, yeah, that's my deal. The media wants him in a big market. That's all this shit is. Hi, guys.
Yeah, man. It's Country Boy singing the same song.
Can't hear you, Tony.
Oh, you can't even hear me. I always said this. This is what I was saying. Is I like this dude. I like his call. All right, let's go on to the next call.
Hey guys, it's Ben from Harrisburg. I've been a listener of the show now for a couple of years. I don't call in too often, but just kind of wanted to call in and offer some of my thoughts on this last week and in the future for the Panthers. First, I just kind of want to say, like you guys, I've been a Cam apologist his entire career since 2011. I'll forever be grateful to him for the heights that he's brought to this organization, and he's essentially made an irrelevant organization now relevant. So I'll forever be grateful to him for that. But lately, I've kind of been warming up to the Kyle Allen potential successor talk, and before you guys get all upset about that, the reason for my thinking this way is Cam has always been great, and no doubt in my mind, if he's healthy, he can run this offense every bit as well, if not better than Kyle Allen. But we just can't continue to count on him after 2 years to stay healthy. And I'm just not sure going in for a third straight year, just hoping for a now 31-year-old quarterback to stay healthy after when we haven't seen him healthy really since 2015. I just don't know that that's the best future move for our organization. And when I look at Kyle Allen, throw all the draft capital for everybody out the window. Just put him in the same category as the guys that were drafted in 2018. Kyle Allen was a rookie in 2018. Just throw the draft capital out the window and look at Sam Darnold, who is playing horrible right now. Baker Mayfield, the Browns are like 3-6, 3-7. Josh Rosen is not even starting. You can put Kyler Murray, Daniel Jones, and Dwayne Haskins all in that category. I mean, out of all those guys, if you throw the draft capital out, who would you rather have right now, just based on the eyeball test alone? Would you rather have Kyle Allen as your young quarterback? Yes, he's made a couple mistakes, but he, in my opinion, just from watching him play, I feel that he's shown every bit as much potential, if not more, than these guys that were taken, number 1 overall, number 3 overall. And I would just really hate to see us go back to Cam and watch Kyle Allen go to New England or somebody like that and be the next great quarterback for somebody else. I mean, he's shown all the tools to be successful. He just has made a couple costly turnovers, and those are things that are fixable. They're coachable. And I think the Turners have both done a great job, getting Kyle Allen ready to play. And I'm not sure that moving on from Kyle and going back to Cam at this point is the best decision for the future of the franchise. I know it's kind of a controversial take, but just kind of wanted to see what your guys' thoughts were on that. Again, I just kind of like to look at it in the lens of all those quarterbacks being in the same kind of group. So let me know what you guys think. Thanks.
Cody, this speaks to your spot, right? As Cody, you said this, is that at what point does the wild card, David Tepper, is it a decision to move a different direction? Is it time to create a new era? But that is a timely thing right there.
I didn't catch the caller's name, but thank you for the call. And listen, in every opinion you can have about the Panthers, you can express it in the cat calls, man. We're open to every opinion. And I mean, listen, I got to be real with you, though. I disagree with just about maybe 80% of the things that you said. Now, listen, I do think that people have been too hard on Kyle Allen. I think that he has done some things well. But, I mean, you're taking a major bet that Kyle Allen is going to continue to grow far beyond what he is displaying on the field right now. Now, I get that for all intents and purposes, he is a he's a rookie quarterback right now, going through the motions. He's learning. But when you look at what Cam Newton has done and who he has been, you're going to give up on him after 2 different injuries? I mean, we saw what happened to Thomas Davis, who plays Thomas Davis playing the linebacker position has to run around, if not more, than a quarterback. And he had 3 different ACL surgeries on the same knee.
All right. Let me interject here, though, Cody, because the Thomas Davis example pulls at our heartstrings. But at the same time, like, what he did at that time was like
unprecedented.
Exactly unprecedented. Right?
I think just the only point I'm saying is
and there's one other thing.
He doesn't have nothing left.
Right. There is one other thing, though, when it comes to Cam Newton thing that none of us have really been able to just articulate yet. And I don't think the media has articulated this. And this might be the first time on the podcast that anybody has just said it, is that part of your greatness in sports is just availability.
Yeah, 100%.
You know, and this is that I loathe Phillip Rivers as a quarterback. Like, I think he's the most overrated quarterback in NFL history. But at the same...
He is the most available quarterback.
Yes, but that's it, CK. He is one of the most... And that is where Cam Newton is missing and lacking right now. It doesn't matter who Kyle Allen is or whoever anybody else is. It's a kind of can you go league.
With that argument, though, it's the exact same thing with Eli Manning.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, he's been available for his entire career, you know, and it wasn't until this past couple of years that they're seeing that availability isn't everything when you get to a certain point. And so, I mean, let's take a look at Deshaun Watson. He went out with an ACL tear, and he's still able to come back and kill it. Now, yes, he's a much younger quarterback, but
he's had 2 ACL tears.
Yeah, I mean, and one in college, right?
Yeah, he had one at Clemson.
So, I mean, to write Cam off as damaged goods, that's one of the things I'm going to talk about later in my Ice Up. But I mean, people are saying that he's definitely not, in pristine condition, and so he's not this shiny toy that everybody's going to be wanting to come after and pay buku's amount of dollars for. But you know, I begged. I mean, they're sitting here talking about Cam Newton like he's the same age as Tom Brady or Peyton.
Yes. And also, CK, aren't they doing this too? Don't they fall back on the argument that Cam won't be what he used to be?
Yeah.
But I don't want him to be what he used to be. I'm ready for Cam about who he's going to become. That's my thing, is that we continue.
Of Cam.
Yeah, is we don't want to see what Cam used. No, we don't think. I don't think that I got the same thing. Like, I don't have what's going for me. If I was trying to go out there and scam on some girl and put put a little words in her ear, I don't got going for me what I had when I was 24. But you know what? I got something else going for me. You know, and that's the thing, is that why is this idea that Cam can't be, he's not 22 anymore? Of course, nobody wants him to be 22. We just need Cam available.
Is it just me, outside of him not being able to throw the ball, if we take that out of the equation in the first half of last year, every year, like I would say in 2013, even though we did good, it was just a really good team effort in 2013. But ever since then, every year, I feel a little more confident in Cam Newton being able to be clutch, right? Every year. I've always felt
Amen.
Always. And it's not until
he has improved. He has improved every year as a player. You have not seen him regress.
And some people might point to 2016 and say regression, or even the latter part of 2018. My problem with that is that it's not necessarily about the stats, but I think it has a lot to do with Cam Newton's leadership and his ability to understand what's happening on the field a lot more than he did when he was younger. Let's be honest. I mean, when Cam came into the league, he wasn't necessarily deemed the smartest quarterback to ever come out of college, right?
Right. So listen, this wraps up my entire kind of answer to the question, and to one of the guys in our chat room, Ernest Hoff. I mean, listen, he's basically saying that it's a more reasonable bet to assume that Kyle Allen is going to take the next step than it is that Cam Newton's going to take the next step. But the fact of the matter is, if we're talking gambling, we have 9 years of what Cam Newton is and what his ceiling. We have seen what he is capable of doing at the highest level of football. We have not seen any of that from Kyle Allen. He was never that in college. He was beaten out just about wherever he went. And now he's doing this unprecedented thing, and he's playing, as a starting quarterback for the Carolina Panthers after going undrafted. So if you want to talk about being a betting man, the better money is that Cam Newton is going to continue to be a good player rather than Kyle Allen is going to turn it on and be the next Tom Brady or Kurt Warner. Maybe he is, but more than likely he isn't. So
I can add whatever that. Who said that the odds are that he's going to be a better quarterback next year than he is this year? What who was the person that said that comment? What was the comment? One more time. Tell me, Ernest.
So I'll find his.
Because here's the thing: is that I'm going to say is that I just completely.
He said he could possibly be awesome, but it's a gamble. That's Ernest Huff in our chat talking about.
He cannot be awesome. All right, but okay.
Talking about Kyle. So there's a miscommunication there. I think there was an earlier comment where Ernest was saying that Kyle Allen has a better opportunity in front of him to be better than Cam Newton.
I disagree with this because here is that if we were going to set the line, if we are Vegas, right, and we're setting the line for this, is that a Kyle Allen, say we say this is Kyle Allen's team next year. 8-8 is the over-under. Are you ready to say that Kyle Allen's really going to, with Ron Rivera and all of this, going to bring us to 8-8? I think right now, what I'm trying to say is we might have seen actually the best of Kyle Allen. And not the best of, maybe he'll get a little bit better, but these circumstances have been pretty fantastic for him that he's come in here and been able to, it should be a 1-and-whatever team. You really think that a Kyle Allen team, we're going to put all the money on him next year and that they're going to have a 9-7 record? No way.
Yeah, and that's another thing.
I say no way. I don't think you replicate this.
They do have to pay Kyle Allen something next year, too. So I think that's that's the point. And by the way, it's funny that David Tepper comes from stocks and betting on what isn't dead or alive. I mean, we're talking about a guy that made his money on buying up stocks and businesses that after the crash of the economy, people didn't want to touch at all. So it's just funny that's David Tepper. He made his money betting on things that people thought were dead in the water, and that's what a lot of people believe Cam Newton is, that he's broken goods and it's time to move on and see what you can get.
Get out of here with that trash. Get out of here.
It is a gamble.
My statement that I think will, if they decide to roll with Cam, I'm going to tell you the one statement from All or Nothing is going to be when he sat there and he told everybody, he said, it's not about, what happens when you get knocked down. It's about getting back up again. I think that if he really believes in Cam Newton, he sees a fighter who's not going to let this be the definition of how his career ends. And I think that I personally think that all the figures, all the numbers, all the analytics point to a logical position for the coaches and the GM and him to put Cam Newton back on this team.
Amen. Thank you. That's what I've been saying. It makes the most sense. The number's 252-228-5098. That's 252-228-5098. Be a part of the longest running Panthers podcast out there. Let's see what you guys got to say.
Hey guys, it's Ben again. I just wanted to offer
again, Ben. Sorry, you're getting smoked.
Hi guys, Rich in London. Okay, I'll give Cam Newton a
What's up, Rich?
Contract extension for $100 million with $60 million guaranteed.
No.
What?
It sounds like complete madness.
It does.
So the contracts work out 20 per year, which is great for a decent quarterback. However, Cam's got injury issues. $60 million guaranteed, which is only 3 years of the contract. Probably even front load it. That way it'd be a minimal cap hit and off the books within 3 to 4 years if he really wasn't capable. And it would also match anything he'd get if he goes somewhere else. The idea that Carl Allen's noodle arm really came out. I know everyone's praising him, and I like him, but he's not going to be the starting quarterback in the future. And if he is, the ownership needs to have a look in the mirror. So yeah, there you go. Cam for 6 more years, take him to 36. Be fantastic. You'd have him under control. You'd have him for cheap. Things would be related as to whether he was injured or not, and would stop all this stupidity over trading him. And honestly, the stuff those guys come out on national television, it's like, have they ever watched the NFL? Anyway, love the show, guys. Keep pounding.
Thank you, Rich, from your call in London. Rich from London, thank you for your support, Cody. At first, I think the call is absurd. I think extending Cam Newton with any guaranteed money is the most ridiculous thing after not having just the lack of availability. But then if I can try to take myself into someone else's shoes, all of a sudden, Cam Newton, do we really think that this injury ruins his career forever, right? That is a real question. Is like, does it ruin his time in Carolina? That's one question. But nobody really thinks that he can't ever recover from this.
No, and that's kind of what we're talking about. We're so used to talking about Cam Newton being hurt that it's just hard to foresee in your head a time where he's ever going to be healthy. But that's all. I mean, that goes away. Players get hurt. Greg Olsen was hurt the past 2 years in a row in 2017, 2018, and he's still playing. I mean, injuries happen. It happens to the best players in football. But I think what we have to consider is this. I mean, let's say the Carolina Panthers aren't willing to pay Cam Newton that kind of contract this year. We're going to have to pay him at some point. Either we're going to have to do it before 2020 or after his contract is up and have him for 2021. But if we're going to let him go, if they want Cam Newton to play under his current contract, but you have another team that's willing to trade for Cam Newton and pay him right now, well, then if you're Cam Newton, you might want to go to where that guaranteed money's coming from. If it's the Titans or Tampa Bay. I mean, we don't know. I mean,
why risk a bad season? Why risk another injury and not be able to get that guarantee?
You have a contract.
And then get nothing for him in return.
Right. Yeah. You have more money to play.
The risk that falls on us. And, obviously we
Don't you give up on your season then? Don't you just give up on your team when you do that?
It depends on who David Tepper and Marty Herney believe Kyle Allen is, or if they believe they're in range to draft another core. I mean, right now, even talking about drafting is completely out of the realm of reasonability. We don't know where we're going to be drafting. We don't know what kind of quarterbacks are going to fall to where we are. More than likely, we're not going to be in range for the Joe Burrow, Tua Tagovailoa, Justin Herbert. I mean, maybe Love from Colorado falls to us, but even then, you're gambling there. There's that word again. So you have to bet that Kyle Allen is who our last caller or 2 callers ago, you're betting that Kyle Allen is that guy, that he is this next great starter for the Carolina Panthers. And I just don't think we've seen enough evidence to say that he is. So I don't know why David Tepper would think so.
Well, Cody, let me ask y'all, and I know I'm probably going to get a lot of flack for even bringing this name up, but we did spend a draft pick on Will Grier.
Oh, we did.
And I know that he did not play well in the preseason.
Neither
but every time somebody says that, I tell you go back and look at Cam Newton's first preseason. He played horrible his first preseason.
We spent a 3rd-round draft pick on what could have been a safety or another offensive lineman, on a player who can't even win the backup job in Carolina.
Well, but we always we were just talking about it a moment ago, how Ron Rivera does not evaluate talent well and never starts the right players. What if Will Grier is a better player than Kyle Allen?
Very true.
What if he is? True. What if it takes a Kyle Allen injury for Will Grier to go in and show us that This
is the saddest conversation ever on this podcast.
It is.
Let's talk about.
I'm sorry. This is so sad. I'm sitting over here like, well, we got to listen to Will Grier or Kyle Allen while Cam Newton is fucking under contract. Damn.
We're
how about the
going
Queen
through
of
the
England?
possibilities.
Either of those things have to be true. Either we wasted a draft pick on a player that couldn't win the position and he's not the backup. I mean, I was saying when we drafted him that Will Grier was a David Tepper pick. That was a contingency plan for literally what happened this season. Cam Newton gets hurt, can't play. You have Will Grier to be able to come in and quarterback the football team. But if he's not able to do that, then it says you wasted a third-round pick, or what Greg just said, Ron Rivera doesn't see talent if it walks up and slaps him across the face.
Mm-hmm.
So
you have more examples of that too than
right.
The other latter. So
if I'm being honest, personally, I look at Will Grier as a better opportunity than Kyle Allen. A lot of people want to point to preseason and say, yeah, Will Grier didn't look great. Kyle Allen didn't look good either in preseason, and he's doing well. So we've got to take it with a grain of salt what happened in preseason. You have a lot of different scenarios. Like, when you there are some players, Joe Webb, he always was incredible in preseason every time. But he doesn't mean he's going to start because he was able to play well in preseason. But that goes the other way too. It doesn't mean you shouldn't have an opportunity. And I think when you look at Will Grier, you have more of a pocket presence. You have that burst that you look for to escape the pocket, which Kyle Allen has fumbled a few times because he's trying to escape the pocket and somebody comes up from behind him and just knocks that ball out. I think Will Grier offers a little bit more along the lines of a higher ceiling than Kyle Allen. That's the problem I have, is that people want to sit there and say that he couldn't beat out Kyle Allen for the backup job. Well, to be honest, they know what they have in Kyle Allen. They saw him play last year in a game, and he did well. So I feel like there's a little bit more confidence level with what Kyle Allen was able to bring to the table. I don't think it's time to give up on Will Grier. We wasted a third-round pick on him. I think it's worth at least evaluating, especially if we start to tank this year.
Yeah, Will Grier can also push the ball down the field with speedy receivers that we have better than Kyle Allen can.
Actually, you know what is like? I don't know if Will Grier can do that, but I tell you, if he can't, then he sucks, because Kyle Allen has not been able to push the ball downfield with any accuracy at all. If he could just hit one or two deep balls, all of a sudden we would be so excited. But that has not been part of the game. The number's 252-228-5098. Next call.
What's good, fellas? This is Joe in Oregon.
What's up, Joe?
I'm just like kind of very, 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 very curious to why everybody is giving Kyle Allen, these passes. Everybody keeps saying, I think everybody in the league, everybody in the world knows it's hard to win as an opposing quarterback in Green Bay. That's fine. Conditions included everything. But same time, they don't even mention that he fumbled the ball. Turnover. Red zone pick, turnover. Besides that, yeah, he had a good game, but you cannot exclude those things. You can't do that. That's not the world we live in. You can't say, well, besides those two things, he had a perfect game. No, he did not have a perfect game. I don't understand the praise for his for the game. I mean, he stuck in there. He didn't give up. I appreciate that, but he still was him in the run defense was the main culprit of us losing the game. I also see a lot of people still referring to him as a rookie, which I don't know why. He's not a rookie. He's a second-year player, but he's a backup. If you guys just stop putting him in this Tom Brady, next person up, bro, and put him in a backup, he's doing what he's supposed to do as a backup.
Are we putting him in a Tom Brady bracket?
People have been. I don't think he's saying us in
general. Okay.
But not Kyle Allen. Their stats are identical. I mean, Mason Rudolph has a better completion percentage. He has more touchdowns, less picks, 3 fumbles, but no fumbles lost. So Kyle Allen has 7 fumbles and 5 fumbles lost. I just don't understand. I don't understand the bias. I understand why people just hate Cam Newton, but come on now, this is ridiculous. The same stats as Mason Rudolph, but yet people aren't giving him a pass. People aren't saying he needs to replace Big Ben. So it's just at this point it's kind of like fuck it. Let me get my my $25.99 discount Cam Newton jersey and go about my business to the next team. But it's just ridiculous. The media is drawing a narrative, and this organization has not taken.
That's what they do, though.
A lot of people feel this way.
They could just they haven't made one fucking statement besides we're not answering the question. So, at this point, it's just crazy. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Cody,
I love it. I love it. Buy your I Stand With Cam shirt.
Keep it going.
Wait, can you rewind it just a little?
Yeah.
Rewind like 20 seconds. But yeah, he said something to me. I just didn't hear what he said.
Crazy. I would love to hear what you guys think about this. Cody, I know what you feel about it. You my dog. I fuck with you. I fuck with the beard, bro. Keep it going.
Appreciate you, dog.
That's it.
I take offense to that. Does he not see my beard? That's for real.
I know. Your beard is legit, Greg. Your shit is like real legit.
But
I'm just messing with that.
He does kind of bring up this, like, you do have to toe the line of not being overly critical on Kyle Allen, because the caller said that he's not a rookie, and he isn't. But for all intents and purposes, he really is, because he didn't play any meaningful snaps last year other than
he's 23. He's 23, and Kyle Allen's 25.
So my thing is this. Listen, Kyle Allen, this is a reasonable criticism. Kyle Allen has shown me personally, for whatever my opinion counts for, which is less than nothing, but it from everything Kyle Allen has done on the field to this point, there are good things, but there's also a lot of concerns that we've made very, very public on the podcast. The deep ball isn't really there. He doesn't have that elite level arm strength. He doesn't hold on to the football. He doesn't really navigate the pocket well. He needs to step up into the pocket when there is a pocket to be had. And then, that red zone interception, when that could have been points, he just threw into double coverage. And that's what I'm talking about earlier. We're going to bet that this guy is going to turn it on and take it to the next level. Like, that's a big gamble to make. At the same time, Kyle Allen has performed well for someone that has been put in this incredible situation that no one would have ever thought would have been a reality. So,
somebody give Cody damn press credentials. He's just been laying the fire down all night long. Like, somebody give him, take him in there. You are our C3 representative to the Panthers, bro.
I do my best. I do it for these awesome fans that we have.
Nah, that's why they love you, bro. That shit was real, bro. That's impressive. Mm-hmm. Impressive. Next call.
All right, last point. I have to call back. Mr. Joe again. So I am not saying that you need to get rid of Luke Kuechly. I am not saying that Luke Kuechly needs to retire or possibly. I just think that
get rid of Luke.
No, he said I'm not trying to.
Oh, okay.
Here, let's start. Here, I'm gonna start it over again.
There's a button here, though.
I am not saying that you need to get rid of Luke Kuechly. I am not saying that Luke Kuechly needs to retire or possibly. I just think that it needs to be a good evaluation on why Luke Kuechly can point out the play, but he can't always make the play. I understand, yes, he's tied for the second most tackles in the league. He's tied for first in interception as a linebacker. But if you have watched these games, you will see that he can point the play out and he will not get there. And I read some stuff about it says that, for a 3-4 defense, the middle linebacker, it's not the best for a middle linebacker. It's hard to adjust. So maybe that is the reason why Luke Kuechly's play has declined. But if we're so gung ho about getting rid of Cam Newton, we need to possibly think about Luke Kuechly. He looks like he doesn't want to tackle. And after all he's given to this organization, I mean, that's okay. I understand he's had a million concussions. But you can tell he does not want to, he doesn't get in there like he used to. He just doesn't have that. I don't know if he doesn't have.
People have been talking about this in the chat room.
I don't know what it is. But I do feel like a decline is okay. This guy's a Hall of Famer first ballot, probably. But we need to look at that too. I also see a lot of people saying, our run defense is bad because of Thomas Davis left. That's a fucking lie. Thomas Davis, he wasn't that great last year. He can get tackles, but he wasn't that great last year. I think
He was pretty good last year.
KK's been out. And back to the Thomas Davis thing, if we didn't get rid of Thomas Davis, we would never see what Shaq Thompson could do. So some of the arguments people are making, it doesn't really make sense. But with that being said, I just think we need to look at Luke Kuechly a little bit more. I bet that he has a game of his life. He never really has 2 bad games in a row, but he's been looking a little Dan Morgan out there.
Oh God, that hurts. That hurts my heart.
This guy was praising Shaq Thompson for how great he plays, but knocking Luke Kuechly for being the second in the NFL for having tackles. Is that what I understood?
No, I mean, I thought my man was just trying to say that Luke Kuechly hasn't looked like the Luke Kuechly
like himself lately. I get that.
Well,
but he is still, like you said, second in the league in tackles. That's good.
I still think that he's still playing at a high level. I think the 3-4. The problem is it leaves him on an island, and when he gets beat, it's a lot more visible now than it was when it was 4-3. So I think that. But he's
not supposed to be getting beat. That's how I feel. Like he shouldn't be getting beat. That's how I feel.
There's, like I said, you can always go back and look at the tape and point out those bad plays. But I'm telling you, every single game you're going to see just as many good plays as you see bad, if not more.
Yeah.
So I mean, I still think that he has way more in the tank. I rue the day that we ever actually have to have the conversation where Luke's not going to be here anymore. I think we're far, far away from that right now.
I think so.
Scary words when you mentioned Dan Morgan, though, right? Because Dan Morgan was so important to this organization in that Super Bowl run, and arguably the kind of a little bit bigger, I feel like, of a player than Luke Kuechly was. They all looked bigger when they wore all those crazy-looking pads back in the day. But Dan Morgan was so essential to that Super Bowl run. He was a sort of transcendent type linebacker, but was sidelined in a career ultimately ended with concussions. And, one of the things that I have tried to put out of my mind and just simply not think about, but I've had a couple of students actually bring it up to me in talking about how some of these players act weird. You know what I'm saying? Like where they just like they have this like, and this guy was specifically referencing Antonio Brown and how he was kind of like off just out there a little bit. But he was then, and I thought he was just talking about him being a weird dude, which that's actually what I think is Antonio Brown's problem is he's just a weirdo. But he was saying his weirdness may have stemmed from CTE.
That's just speculation, though. There's no
right. No, sure, it's not. But I think what he was just implying is his brain injury is real.
Yeah.
Well, the recent studies that they've done has actually said that the amount of concussions has little to do with CTE. It's how long you've been playing. There's a direct correlation with years of play, which is why there's new recommendations of not starting your kids playing football until late middle school, early high school. If you can help it, because the actual study shows the link to CTE isn't actually in number of concussions. It's about number of years playing football, dating all the way back to Pee Wee.
Getting banged up.
So does this mean Tom Brady is going to be a vegetable one day?
No,
he doesn't get hit.
He does never get hit. That's exactly right. No,
I was just trying to make a joke about how long Tom Brady's been playing.
Next call. There's like
what's up, C3
8 more to go.
Chef Jeff here. Just wanted to call and talk about Cam as per usual. Reports come out that he's wanting to get a shoulder surgery along with his
what?
And
who heard this?
And everybody's saying, except for one person.
Cody, have you heard any of this?
I am not. I am looking right now.
Yeah,
all right. I'm going to rewind it just a little bit. Hey, by the way, Chef Jeff is our boy, so like...
Oh, yeah, that's my cousin.
I ain't got no reason to not believe homeboy.
Hey, what do y'all...
Why is it not playing, though?
Why are you
one
playing calls
person.
from last year,
Let's
Tony?
say
That's a call from last year?
I was just joking because of the shoulder surgery.
Oh, shit.
I don't see.
I was like, damn,
about,
man. Like, I'm actually, that would not be here. All right, here's the call.
and that he's going to go somewhere else. And
there we go.
Good surgery.
He might have misspoke and said shoulder surgery instead of
midfoot. Yeah.
All right, here.
Yeah,
Here's it again. Here's it again. This is it from the beginning. This is scary. I think it's going to play. It's like the most delay. Come on,
he said
computer.
he sent the article.
Just wanted to call and talk about Cam as per usual.
He's not misspeaking. I trust my manager.
He's wanting to get a shoulder surgery along with his foot surgery. And probably put him out till March, and everybody's saying, except for one person, was saying that, he's going to go somewhere else. And I'm starting to
love my man.
And it hurts so bad to know that we are giving up on the greatest quarterback and player that this franchise has ever had. And me and Cody were discussing this before the game this weekend, and I'm almost starting to think that it might be a Cam Newton decision. He may have went to him and told them, "Hey, I don't want to play here anymore," and I can't fault him for that. I can't blame him at all if that's the case. Just the way Ron Rivera was acting, about it, how he was just so pissed off at every question, and how it went from, he's gonna play, either against San Francisco or Green Bay or Tennessee, and to we're putting him on IR, and just that whole thing just stunk to high heaven. Like I said, I can't say that I blame him. If he's only got a couple years left, why not go to a bigger market, make yourself more money, be more appreciated, and where they're able to put things around you, not wait 8 years until they finally start putting, people around you so you're not having to carry the team. I want to know what you guys are thinking. Like I said, I hope it's not true. I hope they at least honor the contract and let him play next year to see if he can earn it, but it's not looking good. Talk to you later, guys. Keep at it.
My heart hurts a little bit.
I don't know what to say.
Yeah.
I mean,
I need to read the article. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't think it'll let you. Jeff is in the chat. I don't think it'll let you post links in the YouTube chat. But I don't know about the article that he's talking about that said it would be both surgeries. But listen, we've kind of talked about this, man. We have no idea.
Would that not done? Wouldn't that seal it in our ideas? Like, if you think about it, if you apply that to your criterion that you have put forward tonight, Cody, you know what I'm saying about the wild card, the decision making, the factor is that if he's getting another shoulder surgery at this point, that's another piece of evidence that would be insane.
It really would be insane.
There's no extension coming. How about that? It's my man is getting a shoulder surgery. You gonna give him a deal, Rich? Yeah.
It's kind of what you said earlier, Tony. When I speak on behalf of all of us, when I say, our stance on Cam Newton is well known. We love him. We want him to be our quarterback of the future. We believe that he can evolve further into another phase of his career. But at the same time, it's not a bad thing to be reasonable and start to read the tea leaves and not let our own bias come out and cloud our vision to something that likely could very well end up happening, especially with a brand new owner that we don't know a whole lot about what he thinks about Cam Newton.
I just want to bring up that I brought this up either a week ago or 2 weeks ago, and everybody called me crazy. And I told y'all we need to prepare for this possibility. Everybody said I was crazy about it, but now it's like the theme of our show. So,
well, I think that we still kind of do have what team. The basis of calling you crazy was are people
my trade scenarios. Yeah,
but are people going to consider Cam too damaged to trade for him? And who knows if it's – who knows?
Yeah. Well, if we're too damaged to keep him, then they should be considering that. But I think Darren Gant brought this up. I thought this He said, you can find an idiot anywhere. He said, look at this, is you can find, and then half of them are GMs in the NFL. So, like, I would say, like, who would do that? But there would be plenty of people that may do it. But I think that would be a very weird gamble. If we have this weird thing that's going on with Colin Kaepernick right now, where the NFL is putting on this weird pro day for him, you're trying to tell me that these guys are just, I don't know, just, it would be like, it's bizarro land to think you're going to throw $90 million at a guy you ain't seen play in 3 years.
Yeah, that'd be insane.
It'd be weird. Right, here's the next call.
Hey guys, this is front seven best in the game, known as Complainer in Chief on WFNZ. I was listening to the Clubhouse with Kyle Bailey, and he had a guy on there that is in the know and basically talks to people who know David Tepper. And they were talking about Cam Newton, and he said at first David Tepper was all for, saying Cam's our quarterback, of the future and all that. But now he's saying that the people he's talking to that know David Tepper is that's sort of weighing in the wind a little bit. He's not sure. He's not confident in re-signing Cam. It may be a trade in the offseason. I just want to know what y'all think about that. I would really like to keep both the quarterbacks, because for one, I want to see what Cam has left, which I know he has a lot left if he's fully healthy. And two, I think Kyle Allen needs to sit behind somebody just a little bit more. So that's my opinion on it. All right, guys.
All right, I gotta thank you for the call. My question about the trade scenario, I think, needs to be turned to make it a legitimate question, right? Is like, do we trade this and that? Is our questions are this, one or two, are we trying to get short-term value or immediate value, or are we trying to get long-term value, right? So are you trying to get somebody that's going to make a difference for your team tomorrow, or a difference that's going to make a team for you in the future going forward in the rebuilds? Where are we at in that? Because that is the difficult question there. Are we, where we tend to have some sort of reservation with the life without Cam is that we also kind of believe that life without Cam means complete and utter disaster, and it's going to be a while before our future is there. Trading Cam, is it a short-term or a long-term solution?
I think it depends on your return. I mean, it really does. Like, it's like I was saying earlier. If say we have Cam next year, and he's healthy, and we have like a 6-10 season, and David Tepper decides to turn away from Cam, and there's another team that believes in him, and we can get a first-round pick. I think Cody will attest to this. There's some really good quarterbacks coming out in 2021 that we could possibly focus on. But then, are you talking about your future being in a rookie quarterback? Because I can look at the rookie class of quarterbacks that have come out for the last few years, and most of the top guys have not panned out. You got to look at Lamar Jackson. He wasn't a top pick. Look at Kyler Murray wasn't a top pick. Look at even Patrick Mahomes. These guys were not top picks in the NFL draft, and a lot of the quarterbacks that were picked before them that were supposed to be more pro-ready and better quarterbacks are kind of bombing. So it's really I haven't seen a number one quarterback drafted since Cam Newton that's really come out and produced like he has.
Well, Kyler Murray was the number one pick in the draft.
Oh, was he?
I don't know. Well, I mean, see, this is, you're drafting, you're kind of drafting for projection. And when you mentioned the quarterbacks, I saw Tony kind of smirk because I perked up. I mean, I'm the draft nerd.
I knew you'd bite on this one.
Yeah, I'm the draft nerd. Like, listen, I love Cam Newton, but Cam Newton is not the only good player in the world. I mean, we want Cam Newton to be our future, but I mean, I would like, me being the draft nerd that I am and thinking about quarterbacks, I love the quarterback position. I mean, if we're going to start talking about quarterbacks, then I want to look at the players that I think Carolina could take that would be a reasonable pickup for us. And I know the name that you want me to say. That's Trevor Lawrence. Listen, I'm wearing a Clemson shirt right now, man. I would love to have the next generational talent as our quarterback, but that we would have to be the worst team at the end of next season in order for that to happen. So that's a tall
or be able to trade
order.
to that point.
Yeah, and by the way, if another team has the chance to draft Trevor Lawrence, who's gonna just trade it away to us? So it's Kyle Allen is not the answer.
Who has that opportunity? Right.
So yeah, and that is true. It depends on if you're a team that already has a quarterback. But I don't know, man. I want Cam to be our future, but if he's not, let's start talking reasonably about it.
All right, next call.
What's going on, guys? This is Darius from Raleigh.
What's up, Darius?
By saying that, I feel like Ron's been getting too much credit for the good years that we have had in Carolina. If you go back and look at our record when our defense was great, I'll just use 2015 as a starting point. Sean McDermott is the reason we were able to achieve the success we did, I personally believe. We get all these praise that Ron's a defensive coach, but where is it? Why aren't we scheming right, and why can't we stop the run? It seems like a lot of these guys don't even want to play for Ron anymore. That's just how I feel.
That's a good call.
I also think moving forward, we need to just get rid of Ron after this year, and I think Greg Roman will be a great replacement for him.
Greg had to dip when he heard it.
Coaching affects these players. Look at what's going on with the Ravens. Lamar Jackson looks like an MVP candidate quarterback. Similar quarterback to what we have with Cam Newton. And Cam's a better quarterback than Lamar Jackson. Anyone says. I think we need to just flip house, get a brand new coach staff, let Norv go, let Ron go, bring in Greg Roman, and bring in whoever he wants to bring in to change this organization. Because we've been accepting mediocrity for way too long. Ron's been head coach for going on 10 years now, and we don't even have back-to-back winning seasons. Where does that happen? Like, any other organization, I feel like Ron would have been gone by now.
Maybe
Cody,
the Bengals.
Before Greg, one thing you mentioned is that one thing you missed. Yeah, it's when you left.
I was listening to the show on my phone.
He was praising Greg Roman's thoughts. Greg Roman in the Ravens situation. But, guys, no back-to-back winning seasons. That is a sort of referendum.
But that was here before Ron got here. So
it also remains, but that's fine.
Yes, but it has also remained. That is the.
That's not like what. That's like the Browns saying that every coach before him lost. So I'm losing, and that's okay.
Hey, shout out to Darius, who was in the chat room wondering whether or not we played this call yet. Sorry, it ran so late, brother. That's how things happen around here. But yeah, man. Everybody knows my thoughts on the calls.
And we got like 30 calls, so let's keep going.
How many calls do we have?
Dr. Matt,
like 4 more, I think.
Call line 6. All right. Hey, look at that. Yeah, just I don't even want to talk about Sunday. Honestly, that was a game that really could have been won. I saw the potential for it early on. I saw the potential for it watching our games and their games. I'm like, they're good. They're not, the Niners or Seattle. I genuinely feel that those are the two best teams by a healthy margin in the NFC right now.
Me too.
Anyway, and then of course, like we all thought, at least I had a suspicion that we were going to see some BS calls going in the favor of the Packers. Of course, it's their house. It's Aaron Rodgers. Cody from Virginia called it out and said that's the NFL's golden boy. So, it is what it is. And then, in a game that close, 8 points doesn't sound close, but it really was close. Having your quarterback throw a pick and put the ball on the ground, in a game that close, 2 turnovers is the cost. Is what can cost you the whole game.
on top of a bad call. Well, it is what it is. It's 3 potential scores that didn't happen. So we're past that. We're on to Atlanta. They just smoked the Saints. Hopefully they all get drug tested and can't play on Sunday because something's up there. Damn dirty bird. And I do have a bit of a secret that Cody alluded to earlier in the show. So this whole time I've been razzing Tony about that awful mustache. But meanwhile, myself, have been growing a mustache.
You son of a bitch.
So there you have it, folks. There you have it. Although I'm not going to lie, mine's pretty good. Keep commenting.
He said your mustache ain't shit.
Don't worry, I know it won't. Don't worry, I know it. I love it.
Josh might be mad that yours is gone now, though.
I know, because his is now. You know what? You know what? Josh realized it's the second worst mustache now.
Hey, listen.
It used to be, or now it's the worst mustache. Before, it was the second worst mustache. Now mine's gone. So now Josh fell in the rankings to worst mustache.
Listen, can I just
thought
point
for sure
out?
he was going to start that call out by saying, "I don't even talk about it," and then just hang up immediately. Didn't even say anything. Just, I don't even talk about it.
So listen, I'll just point out, Greg is the man on the show with the beard. But if we're going with mustaches, I mean, come on. I'm just now realizing CK has a pretty epic mustache himself.
He does.
So
He's got a nice
maybe I
beard.
better say. But I do have a soul patch. So
There you go.
top that. What's up?
There you go.
Take that. All right, next call.
It's a different kind of beauty.
That facial
Hey,
hair
guys,
binder,
Joey
baby.
Esquivel. This is actually my first cat call.
Look, this is
Joey,
Joey
what's up, man?
Esquivel. What's up, brother?
Rushing y'all to come when it's like 9 sharp. But I just wanted to say that this is the Hot Seat Bowl. The reason why Richard's Outdoor World said Hot Seat Bowl is because I said that this is a game between 2 hot seat coaches, and it is. But I actually think Rivera's time is up. I don't think he's a bad coach. I just think his time is up, and his message is just getting stale, guys. It's kind of like no one's buying in anymore. It's almost like a Jason Garrett thing with him sometimes.
Coach Clapp.
And anyway, it just keeps getting crazier and crazier with Cam. I don't even want to talk about
I think this is a very legitimate call.
But and I also wanted to say I'm going to the game in New Orleans. So pray that I don't get beer spilled on me, and God knows what else the Saints fans do to other fans. But
you better, no offense, but you better pray that you get beer spilled on you, because the other is nasty.
Mm-hmm.
That, like, you never know what's happening there. The beer would be the best thing that happened to be spilled on you.
I would be there too, Joey. So maybe if we get beer spilled on us, it'll be after.
You're going to the Saints game, the Panthers Saints game in New Orleans?
Yeah, with his brother, because his brother's the Saints.
Not in New Orleans. I'm going to the game here.
Oh, I think he was saying he's going to New Orleans.
Oh, real? Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Oh, but then you'll probably get a whole bunch of shit spilled on you. A whole bunch, and most of it won't be beer.
That's what I was trying to say. I was trying chicken blood. That's awesome.
We're doing the voodoo in them stands.
Look, man, wonderful call. Thank you for being part of the family in the chat room. We appreciate all your support. Next call.
Hey guys, this is Front Seven Best in the game again. I'm calling back. I called earlier today, but I was listening to y'all, what y'all was talking about the defense and gas integrity and all this. What do y'all think about maybe starting Kyle Love instead of Gerald McCoy, since he has a problem like holding his gap? And instead of signing Corn Elder, I think we should have went after like maybe somebody who we could, get a little bit of run stopping out of on the defensive line. Maybe an older guy or something, just for the second half of the year. to clog them gaps up, so Luke Kuechly won't be having to, shed offensive linemen off of them every 5 seconds. And I just want to know about that. All right, guys. Appreciate it. Thanks. Keep out.
Is Gerald McCoy a problem?
I don't think so.
I haven't seen it, but I think
he has got overextended on a couple of plays, and then there was this other play that the coach was talking about. He slipped on. He felt bad. Ron was defending him. The question is, I don't know. Is it? I don't think. I don't. We don't know. We don't know.
Here's the problem. Without McCoy out there, Luke is not the rah-rah going to be getting everybody riled up.
Not at all.
That was definitely Thomas Davis last year.
Yeah.
We've got Gerald McCoy here because he is not just somebody who can rush the passer, but he is somebody who can get the message to the players to get them ready to go and understand that they need to get in this frame of mind to be able to. You've seen the videos. Some of them come, like the one that we at 49ers almost came across as bad as the Jameis Winston. Eat the W. It wasn't as crazy, but they were going to take all the smoke. Okay, whatever. But he gets those guys riled up, and he's got that leadership factor that I don't think anybody else on the team is going to be able to provide. So no, I think he absolutely remains in the game. He remains a part of this defensive line, and
I don't feel like we've been calling Kyle Love's name a lot this year, have we? I saw when someone else say in the chat room, is Vernon Butler the most improved defensive lineman out of the group? And of course, yeah. I think the answer is yes.
My question is for the caller is he raises a good point about not bringing back Corn Elder and possibly getting strengthened up our line, but who? Like the trade deadline's over, so you've only got players that are not on a team. Like, is there anybody out there that's worth?
And actually, what does the Corn Elder signing tell us?
It tells us that they want somebody. Number one, it means that they don't trust J.B. Elliott or Luke Cole, one of the two.
Or is Bradbury's injury potentially going to linger a little bit? Like, what does that mean? That's a question.
It was a game time decision. I think there's no way. Maybe they think that his injury is one of that is it's common re-aggravated. But there's no way that they think that he's.
Then why make even the move?
Well, we did draft him.
But I feel like we've been all right.
I think Dante Jackson is the problem. I hate to say it, but I think Dante.
No, Cody, you hear that?
And they have like 5 picks this year.
I don't know if I would say that Dante Jackson has been the problem. I think that right now our front office is just throwing noodles at the refrigerator to see what sticks, man. I don't. Okay, I take it that everybody caught some glimpses of the San Fran Seattle game last night. Great football game, went all the way to the end of overtime.
Yeah,
but they had the Seahawks won with Josh Gordon. Now, I don't know if you guys know how the waivers work, but teams get access to players that are released from their teams before other teams. So there's priorities. So the Seattle Seahawks were far down the list of priorities, meaning other teams ahead of the Seahawks had to pass on Josh Gordon before the Seahawks could accept him. The Panthers passed on signing Josh Gordon to the football team when we have no red zone threat at wide receiver. But yet we brought in Greg Dortch and then what's the guy?
Oh, wait, one more. My guy that I was excited about. What I don't even know his name. He played for Indianapolis and then the Jaguars.
Yeah, Dante Moncrief.
Yes, Dante Moncrief. Who is Dante Moncrief?
Yeah, that's what I'm saying.
Can we ask the question now? Does that mean that we're not going to be signing Cam Newton? Because the fact of the matter is they consider Josh Gordon damaged goods, so they didn't want to take a bet on him. Would that also indicate that maybe they're going to take the same approach with Cam?
And Cody's right. Is Josh Gordon balled out in that Monday night?
Yeah, he didn't do that great. He's on my fantasy team. He only scored. He didn't score that much.
Man,
he had a couple of clutch catches, but he didn't do.
I don't know. I was watching it, bro. My man looked all right.
also, to be fair, you're not judging him from a fantasy perspective. You're judging him whenever they threw the ball at him when they needed to play. Homeboy came up with a play, and the further point,
and he looked like a monster. He looked awesome. Like he was like, "Fuck all y'all." God.
I think throwing the football in the red zone is a real problem for our football team right now. If you have Kyle Allen who's working through his own deficiencies in the pocket and whatnot, why not have a bigger body receiver that you can just throw the football
But he's not that big. I think he is. Let's see what he is. Let's see what
just so y'all know, Josh Gordon had 2 catches for 27 yards last night.
And they were...
Oh, gosh. They were the only 2 I saw.
But, okay, Greg, that was his first game back.
And it was Russell Wilson's worst game as well.
Yeah.
In my opinion, when I was watching it, I needed Russell Wilson to get me 20 points for my fantasy. He came up 2 points short, and I was just so angry because I was 2 points short of beating my.
And remember this: they won.
Our front office
on the road.
I don't think there's some.
That game was one of the best games ever. That was such a good game.
I don't think there's a method to the madness of our front office right now.
Yeah,
I don't look. How about this? Let's not look at these real fringe picks as really or decisions being that important to our team.
No, they weren't.
So I think we're over examining what Corn Elder means to this team. If anything, we should really be what we've been examining. And that is the central components of the team, because that Cam Newton, the future, what David Tepper means. Josh Gordon, 6'3", 225. He's big, but he's not a giant, but that is significantly bigger than what we got.
Bigger than any receiver we have.
All right, here,
I think his biggest thing is not his physical aspect. It's his I think he has some mental problems that a lot of teams don't deal with.
I defended Josh Gordon for so long. I was like, stop messing with this dude because he's smoking a little weed. I died on that hill for Josh Gordon for so long. And then it comes out that my man was dealing like 30 grand worth of weed. I was like, damn, man, I was trying to fight for you. Next call.
Oh, man, what you guys talking about, man? This stuff, man, look, it's not just Ron Rivera, it's North Turner, too.
Oh, Cody, it's your spirit animal.
We need to revamp a whole lot of stuff. It's not so much Kyle Allen. I think, it's the defense. The defense is not, I think what we did, we made a big mistake when we were talking about the 3-4 stuff. Steve Wilkes really had the right idea, man. You can't just keep putting enough people in the box that you can stop the run, basically. And we keep talking about Luke. But I think Luke, I don't know, I think he's getting older or something, man. He's not making those plays and stuff. He's not stopping anything up the middle. And that's another thing. That's another problem that, we have to address and stuff, because when the running back gets to the second tier of our defense, it's hard. They're not wrapping up. This is just coaching, basically, stuff. And I don't know why they haven't fired Eric Washington and the rest of these guys, man, because Riverboat Ron is running the defense, so is Eric Washington, and they're still getting ran over, completely. So where do we go from here? I think, and I'm tired of them when they sign players, they signing running backs and they're signing receiver and stuff like that, but they never pull a defensive guy off the practice squad to see
guys,
what
they are. He's channeling y'all's feelings, yo.
They're just not receiving the thing. They live in their own little bubble, man. And I'm just tired of it. Nobody's really addressing these problems the way they should be, man. I love CMC. Here's another one on the offensive side. CMC is good. He's our MVP, but we need to get the other running backs in there, bigger backs, especially on the goal line.
This is my spirit.
Yes.
Arnold and stuff like that to take it in there, because they're heavier. They're bigger backs. They can take that pounding, man. You don't have to kill Christian McCaffrey everywhere he goes. I mean, we didn't even spread him out one time to try to catch a ball or something like that. He's more dangerous in that kind of weather as a receiver. And this is the things that we're not doing, man. It's just play calling. It's just, I don't know what it is. It's a combination of all of it, man. What happened to Ian Thomas? Ian Thomas.
This is, gosh, the calls just get better and better.
I'm tired of this. We signed.
The call is fantastic, though.
Nobody used him.
We can just play this call and just been
why are we
done.
signing all these players we're not even?
We can end the show.
Right, dude.
You could have signed some practice squad defensive guys on the line. Don't we have defensive tackles and nose guards and stuff that we have on the practice?
You need to come on the show. This guy's got to come on the show.
Those guys come up and plug the holes, man. And then
Can you say his name?
Here, it's just begin. I'll play the beginning again.
I don't think he did.
Oh man, what's this guy talking about?
Nah,
This stuff.
whoever you are, don't put a name to it because it's too great. That was like, good God, just make your own podcast, brother. I mean, no, I'm not. That's not even an insult. You know what I'm saying? Like, that was a fantastic call. Here you go. Next call.
Yo, what's up, guys? Big Mike calling from Fort Lauderdale, Florida.
Come on, brother.
High Point, North
What's up, Big Mike? High Point Furniture Capital.
2 years now, for 2 seasons.
Yeah.
I love it. You guys bring it every week. You guys are always there every week, and keep it up. But I think with what I wanted to say right now, what type of identity do you think that we guys have? I mean, who are we as a team?
Run game.
What are we good at?
What a good
What
question.
are we bad at? I think we know what we're bad at.
Yeah.
Everything.
We got no run defense. 29th in the league right now. That's crazy. That's crazy.
We're on pace to give up the worst
defense. Right.
rushing touchdowns
Really
ever.
working out well there, Rivera. Good job.
Yeah.
It's really proud. 29. Is that the problem?
The
Is that
calls
why we're
tonight are
always year in,
so
year out,
good.
scratching our heads, guys? Is it Rivera? I don't know. Got a bad quarterback that's out.
Did he say a bad
I don't know,
quarterback?
I'm gonna let you guys sit there and chew on that one for a minute. I just feel we're a lot better than what we are. So talk to you guys later. Keep on.
Cody, you've convinced the entire world. That's how I feel. Like, I just feel like you are channeling their feelings.
I mean, I don't know if I'm changing minds or people are just starting to believe what their eyes are telling them and what their logical brain is informing them to think. But yeah, man, you're going to accept mediocrity, I think, if you stick with the same formula that we have now. If you continue to do the same thing and get the same results, well, then that's why. It's because you're doing the same thing.
Thankfully, you're listening to the last call of the C3 Panthers podcast because we've been going strong for 3 hours now.
Wow.
Yeah, that's because we have like 25 calls. The number's 252-228-5098. You guys can catch us after the game. CK and I will be there. We're going to be crashing Cody's house and making him take care of this podcast for us while we're on the road. But we've got to bust through the final segments of the show because the callers said we're there each and every week. All right, guys, very quickly. Panthers, Falcons. It's all division week. Who you got? Panthers, Falcons, CK, you start.
I'm going to call it Panthers. The Falcons had their one bounce back game that they're going to be entitled to in the division, and I think that was a big one. So Panthers, I don't think it's going to be a giant win. I'm going to think 24, maybe 21. So
I'm worried about this team, Greg. Who you got?
I'm going to go with CK too. The same thing. I'm going to say Panthers as well. I think it's going to be a little bit bigger of a win because the Falcons don't have any kind of a real defense. I mean, I know they held the Saints to 9 points last week, but go back and look at it.
They almost doubled their sacks for the year, though.
Yeah, but go back and look at it. The Saints have been held to less than 14 points 4 times this year. So for everybody who says they're like the best team in the NFL, the most phenomenal offense, 4 of their games have been held to less than 14 points. So just saying. I think it's going to be Panthers big. I think it's going to be 31-17, somewhere in that vicinity.
Cody, I'm not picking the Falcons. in my house when I'm going with CK, and then I'm coming to your house, Cody. But the Falcons are like a rabid, wounded animal to me, and that's a little scary. Pick the Panthers to win here. Somewhere in the maybe. Oh gosh, if we win this game, and I say if we win this game, that sucks saying it like that. I think we got to score 24 points. And I think it's going to be 24-22, something like that. 24-23
Wow.
Panthers. 24-23 Panthers. Cody, what you got?
So I'm going to say 27-21 Carolina Panthers. I think that we get up fast. I think Atlanta makes it a game late, and it's another game of cardiac cats. But I like my Panthers to get it done at home. 27-21 Carolina.
Are the Saints in Tampa? Is that what it is?
Yes, the Saints are in Tampa.
What you got on that game?
I'll just. Well, yeah, go ahead, CK.
Bold prediction on the Panthers, Atlanta. You know how Hulu had that monster game against us? Over 300 yards back in 2016?
Yeah.
Christian McCaffrey's about to eclipse 300 yards.
Wow.
Falcons defense.
And secure a spot in the MVP.
God,
Top of the MVP race.
That would be a big deal, wouldn't it?
It would be.
Well, I think that he's going to get somebody fired.
Their run defense is straight good, though.
There's this guy on YouTube named Chiseled Adonis. He's hilarious. I recommend everyone check him out. He calls it Christian McCaffrey blue eyes white privilege.
Oh yeah.
I don't know if you get the Yu-Gi-Oh reference or not, but it's I can't stop thinking about that. That made me laugh.
All right, who's got to pick this? I'm clearly Saints taking care of business in Tampa. Anybody else? Anybody picking Tampa?
I'm picking Tampa.
You are?
I am, because Tampa, like I said, I believe Tampa Bay is a good team. They've been in every game they've played this year. They've not been stomped, and they have a great run defense. I mean,
can you be a good team and have a losing record is a great question.
Well, you know what? You definitely can be. In my fantasy league, I have the second most points scored.
In my fantasy football league, I'm the awesomest team.
Hey,
but I have a losing ass record.
Look at the Lions.
Yeah.
Look at the Lions. They're a good team in my opinion, and they have a bad record right now.
Yeah.
And then they got fucking Stafford going down hurts. All right, so those are the picks there. If you're listening to the audio podcast only, thank you.
Hey, I didn't pick it, man. I didn't pick it.
Who you got? I said, does anybody else? See, that's my point. If you're listening to the audio podcast now, we're going to break. All right, I'd like to welcome Rafael Esparza, head odds maker for mybookie.ag, the most trusted sports book in America, the place you can go and just have a great time and really enjoy sports betting at its most. Rafael, welcome to the podcast again. The Panthers up and down, and so you're not our good luck charm anymore. But and they didn't cover this week either.
No, I mean it was a close one. Boy, that touchdown if McCaffrey would have got that would have been totally huge ramifications for his MVP. I mean, a big win on a road. I mean, that was not a bad. It's not a good loss or a bad loss. I mean, you're at Green Bay. It's snowing. Everything's pointing for Green Bay to win. So keeping it that close, I thought it was a good victory. I mean, now Carolina needs to bounce back at home against the Dirty Birds, who did the shock of the week.
Last week when we were on the show, we were talking about the 5 points that you guys were giving the Panthers, and I just looked up on mybookie.ag their reviews of the weekly games. Did the line move from 5 to 4.5?
Yes, the betting public was betting Carolina, especially the wise guys. They liked Carolina pretty much all week.
Wow, that's crazy, to be honest, because we thought that 5 points was a good deal for Packer fans last week, and they were able to cover that. So now the Panthers, though, now have to. Are they hosting the Falcons? I believe. It's at home.
Yes, at home, and now Carolina's 5.5-point favorites against the Dirty Birds, who, like I said, they are coming off a big win.
This seems like a strange game to get involved with from a betting standpoint. The Panthers have been so unpredictable, and you've got to believe that the Falcons, are they breaking the trend? Are they now going to be the bet buster, the line buster? What is going on with the Falcons? Or is this just fool's gold right there?
I mean, it could be fool's gold. I mean, a home team in this series is 10-3 against the spread. But the Falcons have covered 6 out of 7. But that's Falcon teams that cover 6 out of 7. It's not the same Falcon team we've seen all season long. And it was a big emotional win. Both teams coming off bye weeks last week. And I just think the Saints defense showed up. If Carolina can run the ball, which the the Saints cannot run the ball. If Carolina can, then I think we're going to see a Panther victory, which I do believe. I think Carolina, now that they know that they have to play the Saints 2 times and the Saints lost last week, this is a big game for you guys.
So last week, looking back at some of the games that were strange here, is that I think that, obviously the Rams could not get it done. The Colts, they gave 10.5 points against the Miami Dolphins. It was a lot last week. Where do you guys, and the 49ers, tell us what happened with Monday Night Football. The 49ers, 6-point favorites in that game last night, and you can't ever count Seattle out, can you?
No, some buyback came in on Seattle yesterday. Some shops moved it to 5.5, took it off 6. So we needed that game to stay under. So we got burnt on a little bit on the total going over when it went into overtime. So we got burnt on that one. But we had a really good Sunday. So with the Saints going down and some other big games going down for us, Miami winning again, it was a good Sunday for us. So we gave a little bit of that money back on last night.
Yeah, I thought the Seattle Seahawks, you can't ever 6 points was a lot for a team that you're still trying to get to prove themselves with the San Francisco 49ers. Let's turn to this week, Week 11, and looking at the NFC South. New Orleans Saints ventured to Tampa Bay Buccaneers. They are 5.5-point favorites. I don't think we should be too worried about what happened to the Saints with Atlanta. I feel like that's a sort of trap game. Division matchup, and while this is a division matchup, I think this is a get-right game for New Orleans here. I'd be wary to bet against them.
Yeah, and I would hurry up and bet this 5.5 or 6, because this one goes to a solid 7. Now, the only way Tampa Bay can maybe steal this game, if we get good Jameson, we know that good Jameson can beat any team in the league. Bad Jameson, the Dolphins can beat them by double digits. So what Jameson you're going to get is the key factor. But I think the Saints bounce back. I heard today that they watched the film, and they all saw what happened on film and what their mistakes were. I think they bounce back. But hurry up and grab the Saints. Would not be shocked if the Saints are -7 by kickoff.
I think that is smart money there, because I think Jameis still threw a pick like on the first drive of that game still last week. There is no good Jameis, in my opinion. Let's see. Where else are we at here? Who else do we got in the NFC South? The Atlanta Falcons and the Carolina Panthers. That's it. The whole division is playing each other. Like you said, 5.5 points. Let's revisit that game. 49.5 over under here. That's where the value in this game to me is potentially is that the Panthers cannot stop the run to save their life. And if anything, the Atlanta Falcons, while they have lost all season, their offense has been somewhat prolific. I'm ready to take the over on this. I know 49.5 is nothing to sneeze at, but I could see this easily being a 33-24 type game, and you're nudging that number right away.
Yeah, if Matt Ryan does what he did last week, control the tempo, able to run the ball, which just trashed the Saints' defense and running attack. Yeah, I can see this game going over. The total opened up at 51, now 49.5. I'm going to wait to see how low this gets. The only thing that scares me, the last 12 meetings between these two teams, 9 of them have gone under with one push. But I'm going to wait to see how low this gets, because I think the betting public is going to bet this under. So I'm going to wait to see if I can get a better number. But I agree. I think Carolina and Atlanta could put big numbers in this game.
there's no reason to turn the television to the New York Jets versus the Washington Redskins. The Skins are favored by a point here. The Jets have more talent. The Jets feel like a better team all around to me, but they are awful. And so are the Redskins. Is this basically you just flipping a coin at this point?
Yeah, you are. I mean, first of all, who's going to watch it? Second of all, who's going to bet this with Haskins at quarterback?
I'm betting it. This is it's a trash game.
I could see this being just one of the ugliest games. The total's 38.5. You're not going to see that much points. If Washington money continues to come in, which it is right now, which I'm shocked to say that, then I might look at the Jets if I get maybe +2. But this game right now, I just want to see what the wise guys in the betting public, because this got to be one of the worst games I've seen in a very long time in a week game.
Gosh, you can just leave that one off the list. But there's more good games on the docket, though. You've got the Houston Texans at the Baltimore Ravens. The Houston Texans are a team we want to be good. We want to be good each and every week. Deshaun Jackson is amazing. Deshaun Watson is fantastic, but their defense has had some injuries, and they've just been inconsistent all around. But the Baltimore Ravens, man, are really trying to tell you they're a big-time team. I'd be scared to bet against the Baltimore Ravens at this point in the season. While I like the Houston Texans, the Baltimore Ravens seem legit. 4 points is not a ton, though. So that might be some value on the Ravens.
Yeah, it is. Their last home game, they beat the Patriots 37-20. But if you really look at some of their wins, they beat Cincinnati twice, Pittsburgh when the shock and awe of Roethlisberger being out. I mean, Cleveland controlled that tempo when they beat them by double digits. I'm very curious to see how they come back after that butt whooping they did on Cincinnati. It's a good Houston team still. They hold the Jaguars to only 3 points last week. They've won 4 out of their last 5. This is going to be a fantastic matchup. This one right here can maybe sneak up and maybe steal the MVP award if Russell Wilson has any kind of hiccups. Because let's face it, Russell Wilson was not magic on Monday night. He made a lot of mistakes, that interception late. I think someone can steal that thunder. This one right here, the winner of this one, can have a huge factor who wins the MVP as well.
If those questions did not exist, would this line be 6 for the Baltimore Ravens? To me, that seems like that it's a little closer. 4 points, you feel like the Baltimore Ravens should be dominant in this, but I think you're factoring in some of the previous previous wins and the teams, and some of and Houston's adversity there.
Yeah, I mean, that loss to Cleveland, I think, is a big juggernaut because they were 7.5-point favorites when they lost to that game. So I think if they would have won that game, that would have given them 4 straight wins at home. And even they struggled against Arizona their first home game. So that's a big factor for us. I mean, we know we're going to get Baltimore money right from the get-go because of everything that Jackson did last weekend. But we know the wise guys will probably wait to see what this number comes up, and they'll take Houston.
I want to stay away from the New England Patriots at Philadelphia Eagles. You got an angry New England Patriots and a wounded Philadelphia Eagles. And what I mean by that is that I feel like the Philadelphia Eagles are secretly better than they've played this year. And while they've just is it going to click at some point? What do you think about this? 4 points, road favorites, New England Patriots, 44.5 over under. You don't think a lot of points are being scored here?
Yeah, I want to say bet New England because they're coming off a bye week, off a loss where that Baltimore exposed them, and people keep on saying. But do you really want to take the Eagles? Yeah, they beat the Bears their last game at home. They beat Buffalo. They lost to Dallas bad. They lost to Minnesota bad. Both of them on the road. I would probably stay away this one, but if this number lows, if the buyback comes in on Philly and I can get a better number on Tom Brady off a bye week, I might have to jump in and take the Patriots.
No need to talk about the Cincinnati Bengals, who were 10-point dogs in Oakland. So let's go on to the Chicago Bears versus the Los Angeles Rams. 6.5-point favorites for the Rams. You don't really know what you're going to get from the Rams, but you know what you're going to get from the Bears, and that is absolutely nothing. 41.5 over under. I'm staying away from this game as well, because I think the Los Angeles Rams win it, but 6.5 points is still a hair too much for me to be comfortable with.
Yeah, last weekend I made this announcement on an ESPN show saying that both the Rams and the Chiefs would not make the playoffs, and they all thought I was crazy for saying that. And look what happened last week. I don't think the Rams make the playoffs, and the Bears, we all know they might be shopping for a better quarterback for next year. I don't want nothing to do with this one. I think the Rams pull this one out just because Trubinsky, I can't see him having back-to-back games. Yeah, they won last week, but they played a Matt Stafford less Detroit Lions. I like the Rams on this spot, but I can't take that number. I just sit back and watch.
Yeah, thank you, because I don't know enough about betting, but that one is worrisome. Kansas shitty, as you said, the Kansas shitty Chiefs, and I'm going to say that out loud on this podcast because I can. It's my podcast. The Kansas City Chiefs are 4.5-point favorites on the road versus the Los Angeles Chargers. I'm not even worried about that. I think they cover this. I know that people think that Phillip Rivers is a Hall of Fame quarterback, but he's always looking up at the damn Jumbotron at the end of the game, wondering how he just threw that fourth quarter interception. I don't know. I'm not ready to call the Kansas City Chiefs the Kansas Shitty Chiefs. I don't think they're dead just yet.
But both, I mean, if you're the Chiefs, you need to win this game because it's a Monday night game, and you probably have to figure the Raiders probably beat the Bengals, so that would make them 6-4. And you still, right now, the only way I think the Chiefs make the playoffs is if they win that division. So yeah, it's going to be a big factor. The Chiefs will be watching that Raiders-Bengals game. They might be the only ones watching that game because it's a horrible game. But boy, the Kansas City Chiefs will need to win this game on Monday night because let's face it, the Raiders are going to beat the Bengals. The Chiefs need to make the playoffs. They're going to need to win a division.
All right, I wanted to ask you real quick while I got you on the line. Do you know, are the Carolina Hurricanes playing tonight? I'm about to look it up right as we speak. Are the Hurricanes playing? I like to follow the Hurricanes simply because obviously they're right down the road. Tonight is Columbus. Nope, they're not here. So where are they next?
They don't play till, I think, Thursday against Buffalo at Buffalo.
Okay, what do you think that the line is there? They bounced back a couple of goals from Aho last night. Where do you stand on the Hurricanes going so far, just as fans maybe?
I mean, they play well at home, and then they always maybe take a quick lead on the road or give up a bad goal, and then they're playing backpedaling. It all depends if they could score first and how you look at Carolina. I mean, they're in the Metro, which being held by Washington right now and the Islanders. But don't sleep on Pittsburgh that's going to climb up. But Carolina, they got 21 points. They're still 9 points away from Washington, but I think they could climb out of that. Like I said, they're playing Buffalo. Buffalo is not the best team on the road. So I think at home, they had some bad home losses. So I think they'll keep it close, but I think Buffalo will nip it out.
I like this. The Charlotte Hornets are favorites at home against the Memphis Grizzlies. This young Charlotte Hornets team doesn't like to not fight. They will fight. They will come back from the down 19 and get back in that game. They might not win it all the time, but this team is secretly exciting to me. Charlotte Hornets favorites here against the Memphis Grizzlies. What do you got? What are your thoughts on this game?
Yeah, I agree. This Charlotte team, it's fun to watch because, like I said, they fight for all four corners. Even when they're down double digits, they're playing some great ball. Love the point guard, Devontae Graham. Always a big fan of Cody Zeller. These two guys right now are showing leadership, which I'm not saying Kemba didn't, but I think he had too much leadership and that no one else would stick up with him. I think this young team, there's a lot of voices that people are talking about. They're second in the Southeast. Miami is not going to stay hot. Atlanta's going to stay struggling. It's just Charlotte team can hang around maybe first, second, third in the Southeast standings.
All right, I told you I was going to ask you a betting question each week. I've changed it up. I think I'm just going to ask you something simple as this, is that we get to bet on a line. We get to bet on the over-under. What happens, though, when you bet on a line and say a team is favored by 3 and they win just by 3? What do you call that in the sports betting world, and what happens to the bettor? What happens to the sports book?
It's called a push, and if it's like a big Super Bowl or a big bowl game, we all cry and cuss at the TV because now everyone gets a cash a ticket to get their money back, and cashing tickets that's a push because everyone cashes, both sides, visiting and the home team, so you're cashing tickets to give back money all night long. So we don't like pushes, even though.
But don't you get a little cut? Don't you shave a little off the top? No 10%? Wow.
No, not on a push. When the Rams lost that Super Bowl by the half, it was -7, and it landed on 7. We cashed tickets until the cows came home because everyone got pushes.
So the book wants a winner and they want a loser.
Yes, I'd rather take a loser and give money back than hand everybody back their money.
Oh, my goodness. All right. Yeah, definitely want that so Raphael's wife can go shopping each and every Monday, which I'm sure she does. All right, Raphael, tell them where they need to go to put in their bets for this week when it comes to football, hockey, NBA, whatever they want to get in on.
Just jump over to MyBookie. It's a great place. We got 50% off sign-up bonus. Sign up today. You can bet NFL. We have football every day this week. We have MAC action Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. NFL game on Thursday, Friday, Saturday, Sunday football. A great wave. NBA. College basketball has started, so it's a full range of sports that you can jump over at MyBookie and catch some tickets.
All right, be sure to use the promo code OVERTIME. That's right, you get a 50% sign-up bonus if you use the promo code OVERTIME. Raphael will catch up with you next Tuesday. So, guys, Ice Up picks of the week. Who we got? Who wants to take care of business,
Mine is
please?
Fast and Furious. The rapper Drake was at some concert, and I don't know all the backstory, so I'm not going to do this the justice that it deserves. But Drake was at some concert, and he was on stage, and you know that trick that performers do, where they hold the microphone out to the audience and they try and get the audience to like sing the lyrics of the songs and shit. So Drake is up on stage, and his song is playing, and every time he holds his microphone out, the audience just boos the fuck out of him.
Wow.
They're laying into him, just booing his ass off stage. Like I said, I wish I had more information. This is a very...
They were expecting Frank Ocean, is what it was.
Okay.
He was a surprise guest. Nobody knew who was going to be performing, and everybody expected it to be Frank Ocean. And so all of Frank Ocean's fans were there. Like, that's what it was. And so when they got Drake, I mean, it's kind of like if we were expecting Cam Newton and instead Kyle Allen showed up to our house. So, in their eyes.
That hurts the feelings, don't it?
I'm sure that's embarrassing. I am going to ice up Drake just because I can.
Yeah.
And, you should have read the room and known the crowd a little bit better. Ice up, son.
It was hilarious. I watched the video. It was actually really funny.
All right. Who's next?
CK, you want to go next?
Yeah.
All right.
So mine, I'm going to do two ones really quick, but I'm going to do my real one first. So I said that I was going to talk about this in my Ice Up segment, and that is I've been reading articles about Cam Newton's future, and we've already talked about it once, but I can't, I got the article here. David Carr, I still think that he just still holds a grudge against the Panthers because he just does not ever really say anything positive about our organization. But nonetheless, he in one paragraph, he talks about Cam Newton is basically hit a dead end. He's not going to do anything here anymore. He doesn't fit in our system. He's damaged goods, all this stuff, right? And then literally one paragraph later, talking about the Bears, says Cam Newton is hold on, I'll just give you the exact wording here. Says Cam Newton offers he is a more dynamic runner and passer. And essentially, other articles, one on Bleacher Report, they all say that Cam Newton has the ability to bring these other teams to a Super Bowl. In the same breath in which they're saying that Cam Newton's a burnout and he's damaged goods. He's not that, shiny toy anymore. And it's so aggravating when you sit here and you see this continuous narrative. And I think, honestly, I think we hit it on the head there tonight when somebody said that the media is trying to play this up because Cam Newton is much more marketable in a bigger city. And so now you start to see these other wheels turn and you start to realize. So I say to David Carr mainly, ice up, son, ice up. Now I'm going to also ice up my son, but maybe myself. Saturday morning. I like to sleep in. It was like 8:30 in the morning. My son, who's 3 years old, came in and he said, "Get up." I said, "No, go away." And he went into the bathroom, got a bowl, filled it up with water, and he poured it in my head.
Oh Lord!
I was mad.
Oh no!
He got froze. Look, oh, he's back.
Oh,
He's back.
Yeah,
You got
say it
froze
again.
for a second.
You froze. Right?
I was just saying that I was so mad, but he probably was thinking that, well, man, that was really effective.
So maybe your son was telling you to ice up.
Yeah, that's what I'm saying. Anyway, ice me up, I suppose.
All right. I want to go with my ISO pick next.
Yeah, go ahead, because mine's going to be a little bit long-winded. Go ahead.
Well, mine is all about these people who are talking junk about this gender reveal video that we have been watching.
Oh, Lord.
I'm telling you this, is that there is this video on the internet right now of Actually, this is now the people on the internet are questioning if she's a lady or not. That's the
one with Trevor Lawrence.
Yeah. Anyway, I will tell you this. This gender reveal is poof. The best gender reveal in the history of the world.
It is pretty damn special.
Poof is a great way to describe it, too.
And I tell you this, anybody that talks junk about this video right here, and there are plenty, go into the comments and people are acting all foreign about it. And I gotta watch all these. Anytime I gotta watch Aaliyah or somebody twerk, I gotta watch all these comments and they're talking about how they ready to put their tongue on the nipple. I saw one guy said, "I'm ready to put my tongue on the nipple of that balloon when the air comes out." And I was like, God, man, come on. Too much. So here, brother, you can't be talking junk about anything. When you see this video and Poof the Magic Dragon, that's the story that they're going to read to that kid for the rest of his life. So all y'all that hate on that video, ice up. What you got, Greg? And by the way, y'all can see, y'all would just know. When you go to the internet and you see, you'll find it. See ya.
All right, so I'm going to do this, y'all. I had debates about whether I want to do this or not earlier, but I asked y'all about it, and I think it's a good idea, and I'll give you a little backstory in the situation. Okay, so the play happens Sunday with Gerald McCoy where he tackles Aaron Rodgers. I don't believe it was roughing the passer, and I think about 95% of the people who saw it believed it wasn't. The only, Aaron Rodgers apologists and Packers fans believed it was. It was. So we had the First and Goal podcast on our show last week. And they said on the show, talk to us about anything, hit us up about football, any kind of questions, comments. So when that play happened, I messaged them or I tagged them and I asked them about that. And I wasn't rude about it. And I think a few people from the show follow my feed, and some of y'all saw what I said to them. And I don't feel like I was rude, but they got offended by it. I guess because I was talking about Aaron Rodgers, or I didn't have a good opinion about Aaron Rodgers. And I apologized to them. I said, I'm sorry if I offended you.
Unnecessary apology, by the way.
And and you guys even said it was unnecessary because I obviously wasn't being that rude, okay? So it's over, right? So last night I'm watching the football game, and Jimmy G gets German suplexed by a defensive lineman. I can't remember the guy's name. And so I took a picture of it, and I posted that and juxtaposed it right next to a picture of McCoy laying to the side of Aaron Rodgers. Didn't tag anybody in it. Didn't involve anybody in the situation. Just posted it and said, this is roughing the passer, but this isn't, because it's kind of bullshit, Well, these guys from the First and Goal podcast message me back, or get involved in this conversation and start talking junk to me about how this is my opinion and that nothing I'm doing is factual. So I started laying out facts for them, and you can go back and read the whole feed. I was polite. I didn't say anything rude to him. I wasn't mean to him or anything, but the bottom line was I was giving them facts. I was showing picture evidence of the Gerald McCoy tackle, and they said, "Oh, well, that was 2 or 3 seconds after he threw the ball." So then I went and looked at the video, and if you watch the video, Aaron Rodgers has the ball in his hand at 4 seconds, and then on second 5 of the video, he's on the ground. So that's not a late hit. So anyway, push comes to shove, and this guy, they're kind of talking trash to me, and there are a number of times where I tell them, look, we are not going to see eye to eye on this. I don't want to be rude. I don't want to get in a fight. I don't want to start any kind of beef. Let's just stop talking. But they continually are sending me messages and talking trash about the Panthers and talking all this kind of stuff as if I'm the one making the decisions the Panthers are doing, right? So for these guys, I've just got to say ice up, because they obviously were bringing up more things than I was even talking about. I wasn't talking about this get called ruin the game or anything else. All I was saying was this was a bad call, and I felt like it was a call because of Aaron Rodgers. I think because they're Aaron Rodgers apologists, they got super pissed at me and started chunking joke about the team and started throwing insults at me, and I'm just done with it. So I hate to bring it up to a fellow podcaster, somebody that I actually like their analysis of things they do, but man, if you can't handle somebody talking trash about your team, or not even talking trash about your team, giving a different opinion about your team, because like I said, go back and look at my whole feed. I never said anything rude to them at all. And they got mad at me because they were like, well, you sought us out last night, and you went out of your way to insult us and this and that. And I said, no, I didn't, and I apologized for it, and then I didn't do it again. But you went out of your way tonight to look at my feed and insult me about what I was saying when I didn't even involve you. But like I said, I'm going along with it. Go check it out. Go look at my feed. Look what these guys said. First and Goal podcast. You can ice up, man. Y'all need to learn how to understand that Aaron Rodgers is the damn golden boy of the NFL. They make rules for him, just like Tom Brady. That was not a damn roughing the passer call, but it's just my opinion, even though I lay out
Get him,
facts.
Greg.
Anyway,
get him. We got your back, brother. We got your back.
It's not a coincidence that over the past 2 or 3 years, when they've implemented this rule about not falling on the quarterback, that every time it's a big story in the news, it always involves a penalty with Aaron Rodgers.
Yep. Mm-hmm.
Always. It never fails. It happened. It would happen with Clay Matthews.
Yeah, they didn't change the rule about the not laying all your weight on the quarterback until Aaron Rodgers broke his collar.
Yeah, and I told them this as I went on their show this past week or whatever, as a guest, and thank you for that opportunity to talk. But I told them, I said, guys, like, shut your fucking bitching about quarterback play when you've had Aaron Rodgers and Brett Favre for 2 decades.
Right.
Like this, like, oh, I'm so sorry. I said to them, and I think I used Cody's line. It was like, there's nobody that's done more with less than Cam Newton. Mm-hmm. And they said, nah, it's Aaron Rodgers. And I was like, wait a minute.
Hey, listen.
Shut the fuck up. No, that's not true.
Hold on, what's this guy?
You know why they're mad, right? There's 2 things. They almost got beat by the worst strength run defense without our starting number 1 quarterback, with the backup quarterback that we had. They almost got beat. Mm-hmm. If it wasn't for stupid officiating and some bad decisions by our backup quarterback, even with all that, they still couldn't dominate us. Yeah. Number 1. Number 2, they can't stand the fact that a backup for the Carolina Panthers is playing better than their backups did cumulatively over the years Aaron Rodgers has been bad.
Yeah.
Or been injured. So they just don't know what it's like to not have a star quarterback playing and still be successful. That's the problem. Anyway.
Yeah. So I mean, you always got to, when I say something to him is that a wealth of riches. You're spoiled by a wealth of riches at that point. Yep. All right. This is C3 Panthers podcast. It's gone on for an unendurable amount of time.
Inordinate. Yes.
Oh, God. Please end it. My name is Tony Dunn. You can follow me on Twitter at @cat_chronicles. Greg, I know you got a podcast that I listen to when I want to learn about nerd shit. What is it?
You can find me at the Bad Daddy 52, or you can listen to my other podcast at the Super Civil Servants Podcast, at SCS Podcast 1 on Twitter. I actually had a couple people from this show contact me and ask me if we're covering The Mandalorian. Yes, we are covering The Mandalorian. If you want to hear us talk about it, check the show out.
See, that wasn't an insult. That is a compliment in the world.
Exactly.
CK, where can they get? You got 104 followers yet? Check it. Cody, where are you at? Where can they find you on Twitter, Cody, while he checks it?
at Cody Lack, CODYLAC. Guys, tomorrow there is a brand new draft tech mock draft. I overdid this one. My editor told me to shorten it down, and I technically did, but it's still a little bit long. So,
did you not tell him that you're on a podcast that goes for 4 hours?
I put a link to our podcast in every comment that I do.
There you go.
But I put a lot of effort into this one. It really lays out my thoughts on this team and who we are right now, and who I think is the problem with this football team, as many of you already know. But check that out. That's drafttech.com. Tomorrow, brand new mock draft comments for the Panthers and the Texans. That's it for me, boys.
CK got 103 followers. Where can we follow you at? We're close.
Yeah.
We're going to get you 104. Don't worry.
I think we need to do one of those gimmick things where it's like some of the Packers fans do, where they did, we do this together. Like or follow and share every person who likes your reply.
Right.
Only follow Codizzle Allen, the coolest Twitter name with no followers on the internet out there. Look, we're going to be at the game Sunday. We're going to be at Cody's house crashing his crib and all of that jazz. And we'll be back next Tuesday. Let's get the hell out of here, fellas.
Peace and love, gentlemen.
Y'all have a
Keep
good one.
pounding.
Keep pounding.
Adios,
Hell yeah.
amigo.
That voice
Buddy-o.
is the best.
That was pretty cool.
All right, we're done. And
Looking for a fun way to win up to 25 times your money this basketball season? Test your skills on Prize Picks, the most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Just select 2 or more players, pick more or less on their projected stats, and place your entry. You could turn $10 into $250. Right now, Prize Picks will match your first deposit up to $100. Just visit prizepicks.com/fan and use code FAN. That's code FAN at prizepicks.com/fan. Must be present in certain states. Visit prizepicks.com for restrictions and details.